No, I was just hoping to catch you in the middle of a conversation. Like
I was gonna
how
say
we
they have
usually
they have a
start.
timeout in baseball. I can't remember the hand sign is. Just like just stop. Just generally.
I don't. I don't watch baseball anymore. It's football and hockey. Those are my two.
I know it if I see it. Oh, hockey. Yeah.
Yeah.
No one likes
not
hockey.
not a great hockey team this season. But they once they introduced the team dog, the things have turned around. So, you know.
Yeah.
We're doing good here. Well, it's been a long time coming. That's completely and totally 100% my fault. But
hey, you do all the work, so
I do all the work. And unfortunately, my brain is needed to do that work, and my brain just has not been
yeah.
At 100% operating capacity.
You got a bunch in the can too that haven't come out.
It's true, and that includes not just this, but Compendium is.
Oh yeah.
It's just like it's there. We recorded them, but it's really hard to just like get the energy up to like edit things and stuff. And now I started to bite off more than I can chew by doing like other projects on the side that I'm trying to teaching myself. But no, this one will go in as unedited as possible to save me some brain energy. With like just bigger, longer, uncut. But,
well, this is one we wanted to do for a while because it's Bond, and we've always wondered how we should bite at Bond, and we had plans, and then we just kind of threw that out, and we're doing this.
Yeah, I feel like this. I feel like the heart of what like the original sort of conceptual idea was. I guess not the original conceptual idea. The original conceptual idea was just record us talking about movies because it's something we already do. Why not just make sweet content out of it? But at a point we are like, we need to talk about like if we're going to talk about a franchise, or we're going to talk about something, you got to talk about the sort of underdog of the franchise, the sort of one that is probably. This is the Halloween 3 of the James Bond franchise, where it's sort of standalone as its own fucking thing, but it's also probably the best of the franchise.
Yeah, it's my favorite one. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it's hard to say with James Bond because
they're all so similar.
They're also similar, but they're also just like there's so many of them, and it's like you'll plop down one, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right, it sucks. Or like you'll put it down, and it's like, oh wait, that's this one. Oh yeah, this one kicks ass.
There's only like 3, 4 I actually don't like and like won't watch again, and then there's a bunch or a handful that are like B grade ones where like that one's fine. Like I watched The World's Not Enough yesterday, and I like it, but it's definitely like B grade Bond where like not everyone needs to talk in innuendo. Even Bond a couple times, and it's like everything he says and everybody else, and you're like, man, this movie is nothing but innuendo.
Yeah,
and puns.
Yeah, this one sort of is kind of rides the sweet spot of what you want because it is filled with innuendo, but it's like not left and right. It is just sort of like
there's a couple.
It's still treating itself like this is the 6th James Bond movie, I think.
See, Connery did. See, that one. Yes, 6th one.
6th one. So like this is where like it had sort of found its footing, and then they lose their star. So they bring in another person to sort of like be the same but different at the same time.
Yeah.
But like in terms of sort of writing, they kind of figured it out by this point of what James Bond was going to be.
Yeah, and the director Peter Hunt
had been involved.
To go more to the book.
Yeah,
like he's like we don't need the gadgets, we don't need to change it. The book's good enough. Let's kind of go back to
this one's basically the only one that's like this is. We're basing it off the book. This like most of them like definitely aren't like they just doing their own thing. Whereas this one is much closer. I'm not saying it's a direct adaptation, but in terms of story, it's basically the same core story with just some like certain scenes play out exactly the same and like or like are similar enough. They just had to change stuff to make a more coherent movie or whatever. So
I've only read a couple. I remember Live and Let Die is not really like it. I think the basic plot of the heroin trade in Jamaica is about it, and then Casino Royale is like fucking perfect. It's like it's such a good adaptation. It's like and they had to update it like 50 years, and like without communism, and they did a really good job with that. And that one was like, and that was obviously the intent because Casino Royale was kind of the oasis or the mirage of James Bond movies
Yeah.
for such a long time, and they finally got to do it. And they rebooted the franchise so they could kind of change what it was and not have to adapt it to what the series had become.
Yeah, so James Bond started as a movie franchise in 62, and this is
Yep.
69.
Yeah, so they pumped them out.
They pumped them out, man. It's like
Well, that's how they did it back then.
Yeah, 6 movies in 8 years, and these weren't exactly like this movie. Like, it's cool because it uses like a weird array of effects. Like, I'm particularly sensitive to green screen effects, and they use a significant amount of green screen effects in this movie.
Rear screen.
Yeah.
Rear screen.
Yeah, rear screen. But also there's just a really good sort of mashup of like practical stunt effects and stuff in this one.
Well, and just back then, I mean, they used rear screen for everything.
Yeah, everything.
It'd be on location, then the close-ups would be in the studio and rear screen. And
it does have also some. It also has some really good like ADR, and when I say really good, I mean really funny ADR. Like when they're tumbling down the mountain in the avalanche, it's really funny ADR. So I guess in order to talk about On Her Majesty's Secret Service or OMS, you have to also talk about the elephant in the room of George Lazenby.
Yes, which George Lazenby is fucking great, and it
he's
sucks that he didn't stick with it. Yeah, because he could have only gotten better. Yeah, like any kinks would have definitely gotten ironed out.
Yeah, the thing that this is his like first like legit movie. Like this is his first
like acting.
Like before this, he like got the job.
He was in a commercial.
Yeah, he got the job based on a commercial.
Like for chocolate or something. I just watched the making of this morning.
Because he was a model.
Yeah.
But he's an Australian model that kind of like he didn't really have. I mean, he had an acting career after this, but not anything like this. Is the biggest movie. This is the biggest thing that he had ever done and has ever done. Like he's done a few other things that you would definitely recognize.
Yeah,
talk about later. But
also
I think the one problem you have with it is a lot of people write it off because of sort of the sort of innuendo that like. He was fired from this movie thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like
he was so bad they fired him.
Yeah, it was so bad and the movie did so poorly that they fired him, which is like patently untrue.
Yeah.
Like anyone will tell you that it was just sort of like an agent deal that sort of convinced him that this was it.
Yeah, I watched it today, and he seems pretty convincing because he doesn't talk about himself like he's great. Like he's like, I was really arrogant. I had to grow up a lot. Yeah. So his story, which is pretty credible, and like I said, he never sugarcoats anything. Even back then, he's like he doesn't seem like he's shitting on anyone or bringing himself up. I mean, it seems like he tells the nice version that he's an asshole, but he's definitely not saying it was them or anything. But so he says that he was done. Like he didn't want to do it because the press and just all the pressure and stuff, and he was just sick of it. And then he said he was done. Then they were like, "Oh, we don't even want you back." Yeah. And so that's what he says happened. Then they say that this movie did bad, so they were like, "Oh, we have to blame somebody," and he was kind of a dick. So I don't know. They both could be, but I'm pretty sure his story sounded pretty terrible.
In the more recent sort of things was that his agent convinced him that the spy genre was dead, and there was no reason for him to make another James Bond movie because it would be basically a career death sentence.
He did say something like that.
Yeah.
Corroborate.
So that's definitely the most likely thing, especially like in the 70s, like movie franchises weren't a thing.
The movies were changing.
Movies were changing. So like the idea, it's like it would make sense that it's like, okay, it had its time in the pop culture sun. It's the 70s now. The spy thing is done for. They made 6 movies. We're good to go.
I wonder if all the other spy, like the Saint and the Avengers and stuff, I wonder if that stuff had all died off and Bond was still kind of like holding on for dear life.
I mean, basically, yeah. I mean,
I didn't look that up. I looked up how many Blofelds there were, but I didn't look that up.
I do like that the sort of conceit for like why Blofeld like changed was that's how he is in the book. He's able to change his appearance drastically from book to book. So he's like in the books, he's never the same. He's never visually the same twice, which is why you're able to go from the previous Blofeld to Telly
Yeah, Donald,
Savalas, who's just
yeah,
like
Donald Pleasance.
from
Oh,
Donald Pleasance to Telly
with the
Savalas.
scar.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I think he's supposed to do plastic surgery.
that's basically what the implication is in the James Bond stories, but like a little more vague about it.
Yeah, because out of the so there was 3. Let me see right here. There was 6 Blofelds total, including the newest one.
Yeah.
And before Telly Savalas, there was 3, but you only saw one face.
Yeah.
It was 2 actors or whatever, 2 different movies. So he was the 4th.
Yeah.
And you only see 2 of their faces.
I like how
this is Diamonds Are Forever is all Blofeld because he's like getting revenge out for this movie, and then you don't. I think he dies in that one. I think he dies in every movie, or you think he's dead, and then he comes back in For Your Eyes Only in the opening scene, and then he just kind of throws him down a chimney, and you're like, I guess Blofeld's done with. I don't know if they were like, well, we never really dealt with him.
It's also funny that like it's almost as if these movies are kind of like out of order because like he meets Blofeld in the previous movie. And in this movie, Blofeld, this is the first time. Well, hello, Mr. Bond. Pleasure to meet you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, but he knows though. I don't think he thinks for a second that he's Sir Hillary or whatever his name is. Like, he knows the whole time.
But also, like theoretically, because the plot of the story was different at one point, so it's just sort of like a vestige of a previous plot, and also this movie. The book takes place like the book is their first meeting. Is Blofeld's introduction is on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
That makes sense. Because they were going to do this one first before You Only Live Twice, but then I don't know why they switched it.
There's a whole thing about why they switched it, like because it just like between money and Sean Connery dip in. And like uncertainty about the because it was it was going to be the movie after Goldfinger, but there was I think there was a rights dispute too for the book, which is usually the answer for a lot of James Bond issues. It's like, well, why? Well, it's because the rights are in just this really fucked up weird place. That's why it was Quantum in several James Bond movies until it was Spectre, because there was a rights dispute over the name Spectre, and then when they made the movie Spectre, the dispute was cleaned up, and it's like, oh, Quantum was Spectre the whole time. So
it was part of it. There's a bunch of groups that was part of that. I thought they handled it nicely. It was good. It made sense. I like that how they did that. Although it's funny with the new ones how they pretty much did the Dark Knight with Bond, where they're like, hey, we're gonna have a beginning, middle, and end of the series. So it's kind of funny to see, because Casino Royale was such a promise of like, hey, look where they started. And then the next movies, and then they're like, oh, they're introducing the old stuff and killing off the stuff, and okay, and then it ended, and you're like, oh, that's weird. So it's kind of funny to look at like whole circle. Like, I didn't like the new one. I tried to watch Casino Royale again. It was too painful. I'm gonna have to wait a while to watch it again.
This one, on Her Majesty's Secret Service, is very weird in how self-referential it was. Like in the first half of the movie, like it's just jam-packed with weird James Bond Easter eggs and things. It's super odd.
I can't remember.
Well, you have the janitor when he's being brought in is whistling, and he's whistling the Goldfinger theme. And when he's cleaning out his desk, it's all props from previous movies, and they even do the musical stings from the movies as he's looking at certain props. Like that scene is jam-packed with stuff from all the previous movies. It is weird. And like even the beginning of the movie where he's like, the other guy didn't have to deal with this. Like
the fourth wall breaking.
Yeah, it's like a super weird first half of the movie, and then but it's also like, I mean, it works. I mean, it's just really weird.
Well, I was wondering if this was the first major recast in a movie, because I was thinking about it. Because
I doubt it, because you have to remember at this point those Universal monster movies have been going around for years at this point.
That's true,
and those were major movies with major stars in them that eventually replace them, like Lon Chaney and stuff. They eventually have to get recast. So
that's true. Yeah,
that's the thing. Yeah. That's the thing. Like whenever you try to think back at things where it's like, is this the first? Probably not, because the Universal monster monster movies were doing this thing in the 30s and 40s of
Yeah.
like with like major like expensive franchise movies that just kind of
Yeah.
kept going and going and going.
Yeah.
There's like 7 Dracula movies and like
Yeah.
several
Yeah.
like it's wild to look back and like when you look at it because you don't think of those Universal monster movies as like a franchise on the same level as
Yeah.
James Bond or the MCU or the
Yeah.
DCEU or whatever. It's just like, but that's what it was. I mean, for like
Yeah.
the 30s and 40s, this was, and they were all book adaptations and things too. So it's like
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
thing that we're going through now. People want to complain about no originality in film or anything, but like the Bond franchise is adapted from books. The
Yep.
Universal monster movies are adapted from books. All of the greatest movies of all time, Gone with the Wind and things like that, are all just like book adaptations. Just now it's drafted to comic books because that's just where pop culture lies these days.
Yeah,
So,
it's so funny because they
and every,
were pretty much based on books until like the 70s is when you
yeah,
started to break out of that. Like
yeah,
with kind of the Scorsese, Lucas, De Palma
yeah,
kind of generation,
yeah.
which is
And even
obviously the
some, and
greatest
even those
era.
guys were, yeah, and even those guys were still like adapting books. It's
Hmm.
just,
But that was
it's
like when you
yeah,
finally started to see it break out of it because
yeah,
it was just like an automatic. It was based on a
yeah,
book, and it's like
yeah,
to the like I think every Hitchcock thing you look at was based on a book or a
yeah,
play.
yeah. It's always like, yeah, Psycho book. It's just
Yeah,
how that stuff is. But like, people don't because the book for Psycho was never a household name.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. The book wasn't big first. Like the Jaws
Yeah,
book was big
yeah.
first.
It's like Fight Club. Like that, the book was big before the movie came out, but the
Mm,
movie made the book bigger, so people
yeah,
know that Fight Club's a book.
yeah.
And kind of started paying attention to like whenever he had like another book coming out.
Yeah, yeah,
But like, yeah, but there are so many things there where like we were saying, like, there are movies where the book wasn't big beforehand, and like even for like James Bond, like they're inspired by books. They're not really based on.
yeah, and
They're based on books the same
yeah,
way the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is based on a true
yeah, yeah,
events.
yeah,
It
and that's how they did it back
yeah
then too. Because
yeah
like all those Hitchcock ones, like they're like almost
yeah
nothing like the book's just the
yeah
idea.
yeah.
I don't know why
Um,
that's how they did it. But that's how they did it.
I think they only have to do that because it was hard. Like it's hard to come up with original ideas. So as long as you admit that you read a book and thought that this could actually make a pretty good movie, but I don't want to like adapt it because I want to do my own thing. It's just easier to give the book credit. It's easier to give the book Psycho credit than saying this is a movie adapted by it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
because like I read like this is definitely inspired by my experience with this book or the
yeah,
screenwriter's experience with the book, but I didn't rewrite the book. I just like the concept spoke to me and I could make
yeah,
something out of it.
yeah,
Nowadays, when you say you adapted it from a book, people are expecting the book on
yeah,
screen, which is always a disaster because
yeah.
like I had a coworker that just couldn't stand the Lord of the Rings movies because they didn't adapt the books one to one. And you know what?
They were
It's,
so
it's,
close though.
and I'm like, yeah, but the people that are like super book readers are
Yeah,
very particular about that kind
yeah.
of stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's why comic books.
They don't have imagination. That's why they're
Yeah,
always reading books.
that's why comic movies are really sort of like uh popular because like people are a little less are a little
Yeah,
more forgiving when it comes to you got to keep the core right, but as
yeah,
long as
yeah,
like you can as long as you just like they made a Marvel Civil War movie based off of a comic book series, but absolutely not like the
yeah,
core concept of the idea is there, but like the movie it's absolutely its own thing, but all the
yeah,
characters are right and
yeah,
the core concept is right, and that's where you kind of a lot of comic book movies that sort of like are seen as failures and stuff sort of don't you have to follow at least the core tenets of the characters,
yeah,
which is why the Bond movies tend to do so well, because even if you're not adapting the books, you're following sort of the core concept of each and every
yeah,
story, with the
yeah.
exception of making them increasingly more silly with gadgets and stuff, which
Hmm.
Fleming himself was just like wasn't a fan of. But
yeah. Well, it's funny because Barbara Broccoli said her dad was like,
yeah.
always just read the books. Whenever you hit a rough spot creatively,
Yeah.
just go back and read the books. Just
Yeah.
keep reading the books and
Yeah.
you'll find it.
Yeah.
Which her and her stepbrother, Michael G. Wilson, they've done very good with the franchise because I think I don't know when Cubby died, but I think it was like the 70s or something because Saltzman even left, I think, shortly after Omis.
Yeah.
And then Cubby died, I don't know, late 70s or something because Wilson and Barbara Broccoli were running it for way longer than I thought they were.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm just looking at the director of the movie.
Yeah, he was an editor on the few movies before that.
No, he was basically the editor on all. Let's see, it was Dr. No from Rushmore Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball. He was an editor on all of them, and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which is another Fleming.
Yeah.
And You Only Live Twice. Yeah, there you go, all of them. And then he took over as director for On Her Majesty's Secret Service. This is his only Bond directorial.
Yep.
And since then, he's only done a handful of other movies.
Yeah.
Last movie he directed was in 1987. And he died in 2002.
Jeez. I know John Glenn, I think that's his name. Wait, am I thinking the astronaut? Whatever. I think his name's something Glenn. Was the second unit director on this, and he directed like 5 or 6 Bond movies. Yeah. And he did some great ones.
Oh, he did. Okay, so Ted Hunt directed Gold, which is a Roger Moore gold mine movie.
Yeah. Ted Hunt, is that his name?
What?
Ted Hunt, is that the guy I'm talking about?
Peter Hunt.
Peter Hunt, okay. Yeah. I think he said Ted
Hunt. Mike Hunt. Shout at the Devil, which another Roger Moore movie, but also Lee Marvin.
Before the big red one.
Yeah, Gulliver's Travels.
Oh yeah, with was it Peter O'Toole or something?
Jonathan Swift. No, that's the author. No, that's the author of the book. I'm just messing.
Yeah.
Who was the star of it? I'm pretty sure it was.
I just saw it was. Yeah. I was looking up. I was doing exactly what you're doing.
Oh, it was
something.
It was Richard
Harris.
Yeah.
It was. I was looking up. The same thing you're doing, and it was like on IMDb, it's like related movies, and Gulliver's Travel was the only related movie. Yeah. And like this movie's so unique, there's only one other movie that's like.
Yeah. Oh man, he did Hyper Sapien, People from Another Star.
I did see that, and I was like, let's look at another 80s Star Wars ripoff.
It's really, I don't know how to explain that one because it's like it takes place in like Wyoming.
It's funny because remember those fantastic Bond VHS that we grew up with that had the which is like still how I think of the movies because that's how I saw them, and their covers were all really cool. And I remember had a little pamphlet inside of all of them and had the Bonds in order, which is how I learned them all. And pre-internet, that was my go-to of what order they're in. Yeah. And I remember with this one, it was always You Only Live Twice, Majesty's Secret Service, Diamonds Are Forever. I'm like, why did they got it wrong? Like I kept thinking they got the order wrong because it was Connery, other guy Connery. Like, they keep fucking up the order. What's their problem? Yeah. And then little did I know, I was the one fucking it up. Well, it seemed like Connery didn't stay around for one more or something because the kind of the Spectre storyline gets basically wrapped up in Diamonds Are Forever. But he stayed on for one more. I mean, obviously he was getting way too old for it because I think people were like mad that Lazenby was new and it wasn't Sean Connery. And then Sean Connery came back and they're like, oh, wait, we do need a new Bond.
Yeah.
Because with Connery, you're like, whew, those eyebrows.
Yeah.
Those are those jet black eyebrows. You're like, yeah, he is too old. That's why I always hate it with whenever they're casting Bond, they always seem to go too old. Like Daniel Craig, you're like, yeah, he's good, but he's a little older. Like they want someone that can.
You would think you'd want you'd think you would want somebody that would like
be able to do it for a long time.
age gracefully with the movie.
Like,
especially nowadays. Like look at with On Her Majesty. This is their 6th movie in like 8 years with On Her Majesty's Secret Service. How long? I mean, they pumped out that many movies over the course of like how many there were. 4 or 5 Craig movies, I forget now. Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace,
5.
Skyfall, Spectre. So they did 5 movies. And when did he take over? 2010, 5? Is that one?
5. I think it was 5. I'm pretty sure.
Maybe 6 or 7. I feel like 5 is too early, but
It's
let's
5.
look. So
Yeah, maybe 6. Yeah,
2006, yeah,
6. Yeah, okay.
because I was thinking that came out when I started my last job. So
Yeah.
um, so yeah, 2006, and I'm like, and they just finished up that like storyline. Like, look
Well,
how
now it's
long.
like 4
Look,
years between them.
yeah, look how long it took. Like how many years was spent on this man's life not doing James Bond?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
by the time he steps back, by the time he stepped into this role, a significant amount of time has passed since Casino Royale,
Yeah.
and it is night and day. But
Yeah.
in universe, not that much time has passed.
No, he looks way older because
Yeah,
they always get him when they're like in their like early 40s or something.
yeah,
So they're in between looking younger and older. So
yeah.
they really start to, and that's
You
like
know,
the whole reason why he wanted to
plus,
quit because he was just
yeah,
sick of doing the stunts
that's what
and getting in
seems.
shape.
Yeah, that's pretty much why every James Bond ends up quitting. It's just
Yeah, they
like
basically have to be
they
stuntman. Can you
yeah,
imagine?
they look at and they also like look at the screen and be like, I am an old man macking on these hot women and
Yeah,
like
the most obvious is Raji Moore in View to a Kill, and to his
right.
credit, he wanted to be done, and
Yeah,
and that's when Never Say Never Again was coming out.
yeah,
So they're like, we can't have a new Bond going head to head with Connery. Why don't you stay on one more? And he's like, okay. So I'll give Raji the credit on that one.
yeah. But even he was like, I am way too old to be James Bond.
He's like, I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
You
like,
know,
definitely.
power to Pierce Brosnan. He aged very gracefully over the
Yeah.
course of his James Bond run, and still to this day looks pretty good.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like
He's Pierce
if
Brosnan.
he popped up, if
Brosnan
he
was born to be Bond. What were you saying?
I was gonna say he could probably pop up in a like a one-off Bond movie today, and it would still be like, yeah, all right, just
Yep,
dye
yep.
his hair black, and you'd be pretty good.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
thinking. I was thinking. I was like, I think Pierce Brosnan was the first actor to grow up on them.
yeah,
If I,
yeah, I guess
yeah,
that's
which
yeah,
yeah, because like Roger Moore was the oldest one to start it.
yeah,
He was like older than Connery, and Timothy Dalton was like Lazenby's age, and
yeah,
yeah, then Pierce Brosnan. I think he was born. I think he was like 10 when Goldfinger came out or something. So yeah, he grew up on him, and he knew how to play Bond because when he walks in on fucking Goldeneye, he is. He is just James Bond, and like he delivers those one-liners and everything
yeah,
so smoothly and
yeah,
stuff. And he was just born to be
yeah,
Bond. He was just like tailored for it, and he knows exactly what the role
yeah,
is. And he does a great job. It sucks though because obviously Goldeneye was really huge and really revitalized the franchise.
yeah,
And everyone's like, oh, he's the best Bond, as they always do. And
yeah,
then people didn't really like any of the other ones. And then it
yeah,
was over, and people were like, oh, he sucks. And you're like,
yeah,
well, you can not like the movies, but he's great.
yeah, yeah,
That's so annoying because I was thinking, like I was thinking with Lazenby, if this was the first major
yeah,
character recast, but we go through this with every Bond movie, and like, guys,
yeah,
we've had like 5 Bonds already. You're not used
yeah,
to this by now.
yeah. I wish,
Like, because when Craig got cast, everyone's like, "Oh, it's just so stupid." And like, you guys are gonna like him. Just wait. And the
yeah,
Casino Royale came on. Everyone's like, "He's the best Bond." I'm like,
yeah,
and we're gonna do it with the next one.
yeah. It's
Everyone's
the
gonna be all
it's
pissed
the
off.
same thing. It's the same thing with all of these like every time because yeah, every single time, anytime, especially with Batman and the Joker, like it's just the same shit. Or it's just
Yeah,
like
it's so annoying. Like, you don't think that they like know
yeah,
what they're doing.
yeah.
Like, you don't think that they're like ready, or like that. You don't think that they're putting millions of
Remember,
dollars into this, so
remember
they're
how
gonna.
just remember how just brutal the internet was to Heath Ledger when they cast him as the Joker and just
God.
but I guess talking about reboots and talking about Daniel Craig and talking about like what his James Bond was, this is very clearly On Her Majesty's Secret Service is very clearly what would become the prototype.
You finish what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say there's no point. I can remember the
Oh, you good? You good?
the
Okay,
phrase.
let me pause you.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
No, Jesus.
Oh yeah, I did the hand sign, but you weren't looking. I was like, wait, he's still going.
No, I saw the hand sign. That's why I stopped immediately.
I did it one time before that.
Yeah. I saw the second. I saw the second hand sign.
We're talking about the Joker, the internet pulling the Trump on Heath Ledger.
Yeah, no, and then I did a very smooth transition that got screwed up, where I was like talking about Daniel Craig's James Bond with Casino Royale as being sort of that. The James Bond franchise sort of took a tone shift with
major,
Casino Royale, but like this is very clearly the sort of prototype for that. This is a different type of James Bond movie. It despite it being goofy,
subtly. It was like it was the same, but they definitely were doing things a little bit differently. Like because like Living Daylights definitely did what Casino Royale was doing. We're like, okay, we're gonna go back to like spy, like more grounded.
Yeah, like this movie goes out of its way to show James Bond like not wanting to use, like putting away his gadgets for a movie. It really is just him being a spy. He's doing spy stuff. His only real gadget that he uses is that incomprehensible safe cracking device.
Oh yeah.
That he sticks on the safe and it opens it up, but it also has a built-in photocopier, which is very interesting.
The printer and
single use kind of idea, like exactly, like that was invented 110% specifically for this one particular thing, and like it's a weird, and it's in like a trunk, and I like it when he puts it in the times it perfectly so he can put it in the fucking crane thing and deliver it back to his strange blonde-haired friend.
Falls up to the mountain and gets killed. It was funny with that scene. A little side note was since thanks to the internet, I could finally look up the Playboy he was looking at, and not just be the little when the centerfold falls out for a second, you get a glimpse of her boob. I could actually look it up and go
the rare nudity in a James Bond movie.
Well, in the old days, you got a lot in the in the credit scene. You know, like you got a lot of little glimmers, and now they could Photoshop them out, those sons of bitches. But you really saw quite a lot back then for a pubescent boy watching this. It was a pretty big deal. When maybe porn was available, but it wasn't. The download speeds were nothing you could sneak by your parents.
What was James Bond, like a real pervert move, just stealing at the centerfold out of his Playboy. Like, why? You're James Bond. Why are you stealing the centerfold? That's just creepy.
He was going to go to the mountain with like 12 models that were lusting over him.
I think this must be a record for number of Bond girls in it. Like, there's just like the Angels of Death is just like, here's just like a half dozen hot women.
They're so like 70s models where it's like, okay, take her eyes with her mouth and her nose. Okay, then now you gotta like it's funny looking at like the standard of like girls that could be on screen or whatever, because like their teeth are fucked up and stuff, and it's like she's kind of weird looking, but her eyes are nice or whatever. Just like kind of how it was back then, or just like even anybody, like even in the 90s, like their teeth, like you'd see like the nicotine on their teeth or little chips and stuff, and now their teeth are like fucking like perfect. I do miss the messed up teeth, which is definitely more realistic.
The giant book of British smiles.
Well, one thing that I like about this movie is it doesn't waste your time with the dumbass song for the credit scene. It's a metal song.
I like the weird. Cool. I like the weird synthesizer fucking James Bond.
That song's cool.
It's a
cool.
Yeah,
it's cool.
And even like the sound.
It's electric piano, by the way.
Yeah. And even like doing the dun 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 in that electric piano style is really cool. And it does have a Bond song. It's just sort of a montage song this time around.
It has a song. It's just not in the credits, which is cool. All the Time in the World one.
Yeah, you've got All the Time in the World by Louis Armstrong. It's a cool song. It's a good James Bond song. It's definitely. I'm glad it's not the intro song because it's a real fucking bummer of a song.
Yeah.
Just a minute. I'm gonna hit that.
I'm assuming you muted your screen so you could deprive me of some butt crack views. I was like, I might as well play if I'm.
Yeah.
I
may
can
just-
do the ball. Huh?
I just made that leave that in as an interlude for the
I fuck up quite a lot. I can do the Bond one. Let's see. Fuck.
that's the like American James Bond theme. Like it's like CIA. It's not like Her Majesty's Secret Service. It's like a CIA operative in like Wyoming that has to.
That was acoustic guitar, not a cool electric guitar with the reverb cranked all the way up.
Yeah. I don't know where we left off with James Bond.
I know I had a good point, like I always have.
That's true. Yeah, always ahead of the curve. That's what we all
slam
say about
dunks,
you.
just slam dunks, just nothing but slam dunks. Fuck, what was it? It was something about. We're talking about the music. Oh yes. All right, ready? I'll bring us in nicely.
Okay.
So it's funny with the Bond songs because people are always like, "Oh, what's the good? What's your favorite song?" I'm like, I don't know. They're all the same. Like, I mean, they're all well done and stuff, but I don't listen to any of them on their own. Like, and there's only really been a few that have really survived outside of it, like "Live and Let Die." Nobody Does It Better. I'm sure there's more, but those are definitely like the two that you hear at like the grocery store or something.
Yeah.
But of course they're all well done songs and everything. Like. I think for some reason, Die Another Day will always just pop in my head randomly. The Madonna song.
The Chris Cornell one was a big hit for a while.
Oh yeah, and they did a really good job with the first couple Daniel Craig ones of kind of having them be like rock and kind of fitting the main Bond theme, and they weren't like the title of the song or the title of the movie. They were like their own thing. But they really fit. Like the Quantum of Solace song is really cool for sounding like Bond, like having that kind of riff, but not the riff. They did a good job with that.
But the Adele song was actually like a genuine, like massive hit. Like that song still gets radio play.
Oh yeah,
and stuff like that's people absolutely love that Adele song. But people also absolutely love Adele. So
she just appeared, got too skinny, and now what's she doing?
She just released another album that was a massive success. So.
Oh yeah, of course I'm way out of the earshot of any of that shit, so I have no idea.
I'm trying to remember who they. Okay, so the first one was Chris Cornell.
Then they did Jack White and Alicia Keys. And then Adele.
Okay, so because Skyfall is Adele.
Skyfall, that was Adele, right? And then the next one,
I do not know what Spector's was.
Is his name Sam Smith? Is that
right?
I know. Is that a guy? Okay, yeah.
That's a guy.
Okay, then that was the guy then, because that's the only time I ever heard of him, or the first time, or whatever. And then the next one was the Billie Eilish.
Yeah,
did that one.
I like that song. That's a good song.
Oh yeah, I just heard it in the theater. I don't know.
I like that.
I heard since then. Yeah, Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer did a great job of sounding like Bond music and not Hans Zimmer doing Bond music, which Hans Zimmer has his sound, but he can also do stuff that you don't think is Hans Zimmer.
Yeah.
Like when you see Thelma and Louise and you're like, he did this music? I think that's him because his early stuff was just all synthesized stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny to hear him just like on the keyboard doing playful music, and then he has his like giant like Pirates of the Caribbean Gladiator scores, which is what he loves doing, but it's not the only thing he can do at all. Not even close. Let me see here. Yeah, so yeah, music's cool as it always is. John Barry, I don't know if he still did the score. I think he might have. He did originally because before he had his own bands. I think there's like John Barry Quartet and those kind of names, and it just sounded like Bond music. Like he was doing Bond music, and then they just put his sound into the Bond movies.
Yes, it is John Barry.
Yeah, and it's great too.
A budget of $7 million.
Jeez.
With a box office of 82.
Jeez.
So it did okay.
Yeah, they made their money back, but it wasn't on the scale of the other ones because I just looked at that too, and it was like this one was definitely a big hit compared to all the other ones around it. Well, it's funny when they got Roger Moore because he was on The Saint, right? And
yes.
So he was already Roger Moore. He was already somebody.
Yes.
So Roger they just kind of got. Yeah, they just got somebody who was being James Bond on TV and just put him in the movies.
Yeah.
And Roger Moore's actually my favorite Bond. I think he kind of nails it the best.
Yeah.
And,
what was it in The Simpsons? Was it a photo of Roger Moore signed by Sean Connery or a photo of Sean Connery signed by Roger Moore? I can't remember.
I don't know. I remember I just watched The Simpsons. What was it? Was it oh God, you'll probably remember, but I think they say astronaut John Glenn. Oh yeah, it's when Homer goes into space. Like, this is astronaut John Glenn, and he's like, "Wow, President John Glenn." Or I don't know if it was Buzz Aldrin or something, but it was whoever it was like, "Wow, former president."
So yeah, you got obviously Lazenby. We already talked about where he came from. I is in Nowhere and Went Nowhere.
Too bad though. He would have been. He really would have been good.
Yeah. Teresa Bond had already established herself by this point, because she was the star in the Avengers.
Yes. Yeah. Diana Rigg.
Yes, Diana Rigg. She was Emma Peel in the Avengers TV series. Now, keep in mind, there's a reason why the Avengers movie in Europe is called Avengers Assemble, because the Avengers is already a very well-established and loved franchise in like England. So they can't just call it the Avengers and have it be.
Yeah. Ironically, when they made the movie in the 90s, Sean Connery was in it.
Yeah. She didn't have a massive career in film, TV. Obviously, that was sort of her main
she's known, like, because whenever you bring it up, people are like, "Oh, that's the one that Diana Rigg's in." Like, everyone knows who she is.
Yeah, I mean, and she was doing stuff up until her death very recently.
Did she die 2 years ago, or
I think she died 2020 maybe.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
It is funny, this movie, when you bring it up to people, because everyone goes, "Is that the one where Bond gets married?"
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows it.
Because her last movie was Last Night in Soho, which is the most recent.
It just came out, right?
Yeah. That the most recent. What's his name? Edgar Wright film. So, and she was in Breathe, which was just out a few years ago. The Great Muppet Caper, she was in that.
Oh, yeah. It's funny with Bond, because it's like a cartoon character, and it doesn't have to make sense because it's a fucking movie. But it's funny where like he changes, and then everyone else stays the same because Q stayed in until The World's Not Enough. That was his last one.
Yeah,
he was. I think he's not in Doctor No, or maybe he's in Doctor No, but he's not in Goldfinger or something. I know he missed one for whatever reason, and then M changes a couple times, and Moneypenny stays in. I think until The Living Daylights. I want to say they get a new Moneypenny, and she's got like the big old like 80s glasses, like when the hot girls wear the giant glasses to try to make it look like they're not hot.
Yeah,
came back a few years ago.
I love Bond's relationship with Moneypenny, and it's very fun in this one too.
Yeah, and it's like great when he gets married and he throws her the hat. Like that was a nice little touch there.
Yeah,
and she's like crying at the wedding and stuff, which is cool.
Diana Rigg was in a 1997 masterpiece theater adaptation of Rebecca,
Oh,
which
there you
is
go.
it's fun. Rebecca's one of those things where it's like the one Hitchcock thing that's okay to like remake because like it's definitely seen as a book more than it is a Hitchcock movie. So
Yeah. It was big right before. Like it
yeah,
was like, oh, they're gonna do Rebecca now. It wasn't like, oh, this came from a book.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Because
think
like
that was
Netflix just had a Rebecca remake. Or like
with
I never know what
Army Hammer
yeah, I never know what to call it because it's not really a remake. Everyone thinks of it as like people will
reimagining.
yeah, like a readapting, I guess. I don't know.
Whatever they said with Planet of the Apes, the Tim Burton one, that was like the phrase that they should have done because it
Yeah,
was totally accurate. I think that's the first time they did that, where they remade it, but it was just like the core idea of it.
yeah.
It's like a reimagining or something. I know you're supposed to hate Army Hammer now, and I didn't know why, and I read up on it, and I was like, man, this guy's fucking crazy.
He's
he,
he's he
he like
I
wants to eat people or
yeah.
something.
I think he's legitimately something's wrong with that guy. There's something.
Yeah, because I was looking at his career, and you're like, God, he had so many. He was almost Batman. He was almost a bunch of things that just fell through. And then you're like, oh, because he fantasizes about eating people.
Yeah. And so we talked about it earlier. You've got Telly Savalas as
Yeah,
Blofeld.
pre-Kojak.
Pre-Kojak Telly Savalas, but also
I love the way he smokes the cigarette, where he
yeah.
like holds it in his thumb and index finger straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, people have been smoking cigarettes for a while, and
yeah.
what one way haven't they done it? Oh, this really impractical way.
Yeah. And before this, I mean, this is a man who was in a lot of, he was in The Dirty Dozen. He was in Battle of the Bulge and what was the Birdman of Alcatraz? That was his big one. Birdman of Alcatraz. And I think he was in like the original Cape Fear, like the '62 Cape Fear.
Is he?
Yeah.
Mitchum and Peck. I don't remember. I've only seen it once a long time ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was Charlie Severs in the original Cape Fear.
Oh, I don't remember that. Yeah. Probably had hair on, so I didn't recognize.
Yeah, it was 1962. You know, it's almost.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know, it's a decade later almost, and he's.
Yeah.
You know,
seriously.
But yeah, Telly Savalas would go on to be a massive star under Kojak, which is just which was just an incredibly popular TV series with an incredibly popular catchphrase that people like to say with "Who loves you, baby?" So
yeah,
he just sort of became that guy. 118 episodes from 73 to 78, where he was just detective named Theo Kojak.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it was a very popular show. It's a really fun show. I think they tried to bring it back at a point, but like everyone's like, no.
No.
In 2005, a new Kojak debuted, starring Ving Rhames. There we go. I knew it was something.
TV.
Yeah. How long
Ving Rhames, that guy's got some big dreams, but doesn't really have the talent to back it up. Because he's always trying to do stuff, and it just always fucking fails.
How many seasons?
Every time. That's why I had to come crawling back to the Fast and the Furious.
Yeah. 10 episodes for Ving Rhames. But hey, man, you know he's making life worth it with his non-stop inclusion in Mission Impossible. He's just getting that Mission Impossible money. And Lilo and Stitch. I mean, he got that Disney money.
Oh yeah, it's true. Yeah,
and
the pacifier.
Yeah, and the Con Air. Are you thinking of Vin Diesel?
Yeah, what'd you say?
Ving Rhames.
Oh, Ving Rhames. Okay, I was like, you must have meant. Oh, never mind. Take back everything I said. If you're editing, go back and delete that.
No, I'm leaving that in. I'm just when he said Fast and the Furious, I'm like, is he just thinking of Mission Impossible because it's just a massive film franchise right
That's
now?
what I thought. I was like, I know he loves the Fast and the Furious movies, but I think he mixed it up with Mission Impossible. Oh, Ving Rhames. Oh, never mind. That would have been good.
Yeah. It was.
No,
It lasts.
Vin Diesel doesn't try and fail. Vin
No.
Diesel tries and succeeds. I mean, Vin Rhames.
Um. No.
I just started watching ER and he's in that. I had
Yeah.
no idea.
Oh, Ving Rhames is just. Ving Rhames is just. It's just a delight.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, he's really good in the Mission Impossible movies. He's in the first one, not in the second one. I think he makes a cameo in the third.
Yeah.
And then he kind of comes back in the fourth for like a scene at the very end, and then he's like in it, and you're like, okay, good, we got some more Ving.
Well, let's look at it. Yeah, Jacob's Ladder, which is a great movie. I don't care. Stopper. What? Jacob's Ladder?
Oh,
yeah, Jacob's Ladder.
Did they remake that?
I think they keep threatening to remake that.
It's a threat.
Yeah, it's not a.
Oh God, don't do it.
Oh no, they did do a remake in 2019.
Okay, I thought that.
Who's it starring? I don't know who Michael Ealy is. Who's Michael Ealy?
I think. That was
okay, I know who that is.
I think that was a straight to video. I mean, Netflix original.
No, I know exactly who that is. He's Slapjack in Too Fast, Too Furious. So
I don't know.
So
you're like, wait, Too Fast, Too Furious. Is this the fourth one?
Yeah. Canonically,
is there math?
Canonically, it's the third or fourth one. But oh, he was also in the movie 7 Pounds, a personal favorite.
Another good.
Ving Rhames was in Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Oh yeah, he's in another great movie, not very long, called Homicide, which is a David Mamet movie, which is fantastic.
And of course, obviously his biggest role is that of Marcellus in Pulp Fiction. Like that's
that's right.
That's like sort of his sort of defining role. Unless you're just a really big fan of Con Air.
Oh yeah. Yeah, when he said Con Air, I was like, I think we're talking about two different people here.
Yeah. Oh,
and
that's
I
right.
misheard him.
He was in Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within.
Oh yeah. Another great Money Penny part is when Bond quits and he's like, has her do his resignation letter, and then she does it, but it's just for a vacation. Yeah. Because she knows that's like the only way to get him to talk, and she knows that Bond doesn't really want to quit.
Yeah.
Which is a great little moment with them. Matt, what's her name? Like Maxwell something.
Yeah.
She was around for a while. I think she was up for Honey Rider and Dr. No or something.
Lois Maxwell.
Yeah. Lois Maxwell, there you go. Maxwell was her first name. I thought she was a dude, I guess.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite parts. Definitely probably the best joke in Omis is when they take Bond and he beats up those guys in the hallway, which allows him to fight. Like those punches are fucking great. and then he goes in the guy's office and he's got the knife ready to throw, and then he realizes it's not a threat. So he throws the knife on the calendar. He's like, Bond, but today's the 13th, because he hits the 14th, and he's like, I'm superstitious.
Yeah.
It was a great little joke.
Yeah. The on the Wikipedia for Omis is the Blofeld's Angels of Death have their own section of like these people. It's very funny. Angela Sculler played Ruby Bartlett, an English girl at the clinic suffering from an allergy to chickens, whom Bond
the one with the short hair.
Yeah, whom Bond seduces. She also played Buttercup in the 1967 comedy version of Casino Royale. So this is like she's a two-time Bond girl.
That's funny, yeah. Bond shakes her pretty good.
Yeah, he
nails somebody else too. I don't remember. He almost nails that German chick, but she cock blocks him.
Yeah. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Angels of Death. A good dozen Angels of Death, and most of them don't have Wikipedia pages, and none of them, and only like 3 of them have or 2 of them have names, because you've got Ruby and Nancy, and the rest are just Anuska Hempel is an Australian girl. Katharina von Schnell as Nancy, a Hungarian girl at the clinic whom Bond bends. An American girl, an Israeli girl, German girl, Irish girl, English girl, Scandinavian girl, Chinese girl, Jamaican girl, and Indian girl.
Blofeld wants them spread out all over the world so they can.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually funny with the new Bond movie, because it kind of is remaking this movie in a sense, where they're like like, hey, let's do this, but we'll flip it and Bond dies instead of the girl, and we'll do kind of the plant thing, kind of, And yeah, which is like funny because they do all the Time in the World song at the end of it and stuff. And I was like, it's kind of weird to be referencing that movie.
Yeah.
It was like, it's funny because this one's not really well known.
Yeah.
It's like a funny movie to reference.
Yeah. But what was and also the Bourne movies really pull from this one too. Like significantly. Like like the second movie kind of starts with like him living his life with the woman he was sort of like entrenched with in a mission, and then they kind of like get together, and then she like immediately gets gunned down by the bad guys, and it's just it doesn't focus on the gadgets or anything of being as it's so like this I've never read the Bourne books, but I have to assume they take heavy it's American James Bond.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But,
it's very English. They always keep it English. Like that's a rule that Bond has to be English. I don't know if Lazenby counts because he's part of the United Kingdom, being Australian at the time, or he was, I don't know, or they're like, we're never doing that again. He's got to be English.
Yeah.
He was 29 though. He was the youngest one that they picked up.
Yeah, it's funny too because in this one is one of the ones where you could kind of like make the play that because like how they make the reveal that Blofeld and Bond are brothers, like Telly Savalas and George Lazenby could kind of play brothers if you tried hard enough. Like it wouldn't take much effort. Like
it's
both got very distinct mole situation going on for both of them.
That's true. Jawline moles.
That
was like probably the dumbest fucking idea they had in the Craig movies, is to make them brothers but not brothers, and like Bond doesn't really care, and he's like, I've foreseen everything you've done because I'm your brother, but not. And you're like, what are you guys doing? This is a fucking stupid ass idea. Luckily, in Spectre, they don't spend a whole lot of time on it, so you're like, all right, whatever. Just get on with the cool stuff.
So the advertisement that they found Lazenby on was Fry's chocolate cream. It is a 156-year-old candy bar. Oh, it's fun.
Perfection.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, like, it's a weird plot for this one. Like, it's
a goofy ass plot.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense when Blofeld's like explaining it, and you're like, oh, okay, like he wants to get like accredited as a count or something. It's like, but he's like pretending to be this lineage, even though he's not really, or something. It's like, it's a weird plot. Oh no, he wants to get exonerated from.
Yes. He basically wants the diplomatic immunity that comes with it all.
So it does make sense.
Yeah, it makes sense, but everything kind of leading up to his exposition dump makes it like, what is happening in this movie? Because there's a lot of just like people are being Bond is spending a lot of time in this undercover thing, and it's just like it seems needlessly complicated throughout the entire movie, and it kind of is. But
that's how they all are. They're like a Simpsons episode where like the first like 10 minutes don't really have anything to do with the next 20, and with this like the first hour is like, okay, this guy, I need to talk to him, so I need to go do this because he likes that, and then we'll do this, and then we'll pretend to be this guy, and then we'll do that, and then it's the
goofiest thing because it starts off with him doing the whole like getting like early on where he gets like kidnapped by Draco's men, like the like construction baron, which kind of just sort of like by coincidence almost puts him on a trajectory towards Blofeld. It's the weirdest.
Because it doesn't have anything to do with it, right? And then he gets the mission. And then he just finds Tessa randomly at the ice rink. She's like happens to be there.
It's a real like Deus Ex Machina kind of situation with like,
it's okay. It depends on how you do it.
Oh well, she's here. Time to go, and they do, and it's fine.
You can get like one in a movie. Depends on how you do. If you do one and it's like significant, and they cash in on it, but if they just do it and you're like, all right, on to the next thing, then
I've had to watch it twice. Like the first time I was only kind of like, I've seen this before, and then I'm like, oh wait, have I seen this before? Because I don't clearly remember. All I remember is like the skiing, I guess.
Yep. The second half. Yeah, because Bond movies are dense as fuck, and every time you start watching, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about how they get to the last half of the movie, like, because they're always like, it's funny, like. I don't know, like, because back in the day, these movies were frowned on because they were like just action movies. But it's like these movies are really good.
Also with this movie, they kind of have to shove James Bond into a lot of his James Bond stuff because it's the new actor and they want to like put him through his paces to show you like it's still James Bond. Look at here, he's gambling, he's drinking, he's begging some chicks. It's just like they have to give you all of the James Bond moments like in the first half of the movie. So it's like so you feel comfortable with the fact like here's new James Bond. Look, he's still doing all the James Bond stuff that you know and love.
Yeah, he's doing the hat thing, like which should have been just Connery's thing, but whatever.
I like
it's all James Bond's the
when he's in disguise and on the helicopter. He reminds me a lot of when Christopher Reeve is in his Clark Kent like disguise with the glasses and everything. He just kind of looks
like he still looks cool even though he's looking nerdy.
Yeah.
Well, I love that Sir Edmund Hillary or whatever his name is, and he's just like such a dork, and he's just like talking, and the girls are like, they're all like into him, and then he's just like super boring.
Yeah,
and like Bond's obviously a good actor because he's a spy.
Yeah,
that's a great part. The what she writes on his leg and her lipstick, his room number. And she's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Just a slight stiffness coming on."
She spent a lot of time writing that 8.
She did, like, yeah. I was like, it's just 8?
Yeah. It looks like she's writing like a word, but no, just 8.
And then it's funny the next day.
Oh, really perfect, clean perfect. 8.
Yeah, like perfect 8 with lipstick under the table on the leg.
Yeah, no at a weird angle, no line of sight on his inner thigh. Yeah, really impressive.
It's funny the next day on the German chick, she's like, "How's your stiffness?" And he's like, "Gone for the moment." It's like he knows he's gonna pop one again and go nail some more of those babes.
Yeah.
And I love like real innuendo.
And I do like when he drops the kilt and she's like, "Oh, it's true." It's like that's because they don't wear the underwear underneath the kilt. That's
I assume since Bond's like a celebrity spy that he had giant cock rumors or something.
But she wouldn't have known those rumors.
Exactly.
She would have only have known those rumors if the real guy had rumors about that. But why would she know about the real guy?
Maybe Blofeld tipped her off.
Yeah.
Maybe Sir Edmund. Yeah. Yeah. He did it when he was hypnotizing her. He's like, "I will tell you why, or I'll tell you where, and I'll tell you when." And Sir Edmund Hillary has a giant penis.
Yeah. I love his little like mind washing, his brainwashing.
Psychedelic hypnotizing thing.
Yeah, it's got like you basically you have like an LED light panel above everyone's ceiling, and then he has this incredibly complicated cassette deck system.
It's for all the rooms.
All the rooms, but there seems to be, I don't know how many rooms are in there because you only know we know there's at minimum 8.
Yeah.
But like it's just this massive display of cassette decks, like, okay, tape 72, click clack.
So they do back then.
You'd think Blofeld would be running like one of those like perpetual reel-to-reels or something, but no, just
tapes are ahead of their time then.
Or like would be using like a operator's board or something where he's like But no, just this this is 1969. He's working in a very complicated cassette deck situation in 1969. Like people are still regularly using vinyl and 8 tracks, and Blofeld is way ahead of the curve.
Way ahead of it, yeah. we all know the best part about this movie is the skiing. Because the skiing footage is fucking incredible. Like even now, you're like, oh my god! Like nobody else tries to do that.
Well, and it's funny too because like you can tell like you got the back screen stuff when they're not on set. You got the stunt work doing, which when they're tumbling around in the avalanche.
Yeah.
I kind of want to know exactly how they did that. Like, that's pretty good. Like, it's clearly, I'm going to assume it was done on a sound stage, like just pouring like potato flakes over them while they tumble down a like pad somewhere or something. But it's really believable. Like, it really does look like they're tumbling around in the snow. And there's clearly some stock footage stuff for like for like the avalanche itself, but like everything that's going on like comes together really. The movie has some weird like edit motions and stuff. Like there's some
a lot of fast motion things.
There's a lot of really fast motion things and a lot of weird like jumps that like I noticed. Like it's in some instances it definitely feels like there are some parts of it that make it feel like a very cheap on the
Mhm.
on the off the cuff James Bond film.
Mm. Well, it's
While
funny
other
because like
yeah, while other times it feels like one of the biggest, like it's like so much of it like feels like there's also like some big budget moments going on too. So it's very
oh
weird.
yeah. Well, it's just that's how movies were made back then,
Yeah.
and it's funny because like you go back on them, and there's these things that look so shitty and stuff, but they were accepted to look shitty because that's just how it was. That was the best at the time. In fast motion, like Thunderball is full of fast motion, like
Yeah.
because they're underwater, so obviously
Yeah.
it's not going to look very fast. But I mean, it's accepted because that's just how they did it. And
There's
even though Thunderball is like the biggest fucking thing for a long time.
there's a scene that I was like, he didn't need to do it that way, where he looks up at the clock and it goes to like the next hour or whatever, and
Uh-huh.
they fast motion the hand movement, so it's a much more like
Oh yeah,
abrupt hit. So it's because
yeah,
normally when a clock does it, it just sort of moves into that,
yeah,
but they needed that smack, so it's like they've deleted a frame to just make it go
yeah,
pop.
yeah,
And the bell goes off. It was just like, you could have just let it be. Like, I don't know why you needed
yeah.
the time to be aggressive, but they did.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And there's really not a whole lot of fast motion in this movie.
yeah,
It's like at the end when Bond's like fist fighting when
yeah.
he goes back after the helicopters when you see it the
This
most.
this movie
But
has so many like locations.
yeah.
Like, I love it. At one point in this movie, it just breaks into a stock car race, just
Oh yeah.
out of nowhere. Like when
Yeah.
you read the opening credits and the songs blaring, and they're like ski cam footage, but it's like, oh, okay, ski cam footage, and then it's like stock, and it says like stock car race footage, and you're like, wait a minute, what is this movie doing?
Yeah.
uh,
And Bond movies do it. Like they go all
yeah,
over the place. Like
yeah,
I think it's View to a Kill. Is that where they do the Alpine sniper thing?
yeah,
Where it's like, yeah, and you're like, huh, okay, I guess we're doing this. And of course, Bond knows exactly what he's doing.
yeah,
Oh, that's a great moment when he shoots and like you missed, and he's like, did I? And then like the guy falls out of the bushes.
yeah. I'm looking at the list of like some of the potential James Bonds at the time.
I know
Uh,
Timothy Dalton cast or tested for it, or
yeah.
his name was on
No,
the list.
they had already wanted to do it with him, but then like other stuff was happening, just like Roger Moore, I think at the time too. Was
Yeah.
let's
Oh
see who
yeah.
else.
Timothy Dalton's great. I
Yeah,
mean, they're all good. They all
yeah.
have their, I mean, they're all pretty much playing the same character, and
They
it's like some of them have strength, they have strengths and stuff, but it's all
man,
good.
they had a list of 400 people. That
Jesus.
let's see who's the one that you would. Let's see, Terrence
We get,
Stamp. That would have been a
oh
weird
yeah,
Bond.
that would
I
have
don't know
been
about
one intense Bond.
yeah, a
Like,
little
my
too
name's
much.
Bond, James Bond.
Yeah. Oh,
Just seeing with those piercing eyes.
Yeah, Timothy Dalton was asked to audition, but he
Uh,
declined because he thought he was way too young and didn't want to succeed as Connery or succeed Connery.
yeah, who would?
Yeah, I do like that broccoli. I like this. I like this thing because it really shows you how Lazenby thought of the role. Lazenby dressed the part by sporting several sartorial Bond elements, such as a Rolex Submariner witch watch and a Seville Rose suit, ordered for but uncollected by Sean Connery, and going to Connery's barber at the
Yep.
Dorchester Hotel. Like, yeah, all right. He was like, I'm gonna get this fucking role. I'm gonna be fucking
Exactly.
James
Yeah.
Bond.
Yeah. Well, Peter Hunt said they were like, should we go different or just go for a Connery imitation? They're like,
Yeah.
let's just go for another Connery.
I also love the idea that they knew they made the right choice when he accidentally punched a professional wrestler.
Yeah. So they said they were because I think Saltzman was unsure if he could do the fighting, so they
Yeah.
were testing, and
I wish
Lazenby said that once the cameras start rolling and stuff, you get real hyped up, and he forgot to
Yeah.
pull his punch, and he knocked the guy down, and they're like, okay, you got it.
yeah, I wish I knew who the professional wrestler was.
Oh yeah.
uh,
I think every Bond strength, every movie needs to be in the snow because that's where they really excel. They get those like Olympic skiers that can do that incredible footage, and they really do some cool ass shit. Like the opening of The Spy Who Loved Me is fucking cool.
yeah. Oh, originally, Bridget Bardot was offered the role of Tracy. She's been very,
Oh.
very interesting. I like Bridget Bardot.
Wait, Bridget Bardot? I know who the hell is that?
Oh, oh, God damn it! The word's on the tip of my tongue. You put me on the spot.
I know the name. I just can't think of who she is.
Well, first of all, she's like a singer as well, but she was like God damn it.
It'll come to you.
Yeah, it'll come to me. I'm just thinking like she did like a lot of like weird like French shit beforehand and like what is it, Rum Runners in like the 70s. And,
another cool thing about the snow footage is that's the first take because you can't put that snow back to where those tracks went.
Yeah.
Like when they do that stuff, which is like really cool, unless they like reset and go somewhere else or something. But it was funny looking at that. I think I didn't realize that till I was watching a thing about maybe it's about editing, and Spielberg was talking about Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah,
Lawrence of Arabia, which is the Friends joke porn
yeah
for that movie. And he was talking about that with the sand, and I was like, I never thought about that before. Oh, I do love the gondola where he uses his gloves.
Yeah,
his pockets, his gloves. Like that was a cool little thing. Of course, that was before I'd ever been on a gondola, so I could never look at one and not think of this. I do love his blue ski suit too. That looks very, very good on him.
I like that.
He's got a great body for fashion because he's like tall and lanky,
yeah,
with a little bit of muscle, and like because his like brown suit with the orange is also very cool looking.
Yeah.
And he's a model, so I guess it really makes sense. The clothes look great on him.
Blofeld's like evil base is a real, right? Yeah, and it's a real place.
Yeah.
It is basically the Space Needle restaurant on top of a mountain. So like it's because it's a rotating restaurant. So it spins up there. You got to get to it by cable car.
Jesus.
Yeah, and it's called it is the whatever Piz Gloria or whatever. So like, but that's what it's called like now.
Yeah.
Like before then.
Totally.
Yeah. When did it open? Oh, it opened. It opened that same year, so 1969.
Was it Christmas time? That's usually how they used to do it back then.
I doubt it. There's no way for me to know that. I just know that. I just know that like it looks exactly the same still to this day. So.
Oh no, I meant the movie. I thought you were talking about the movie. Yeah. It opened. Oh, I got you.
Oh, when did the movie open?
I thought that's what you were talking about. Never. I don't really care. I thought you were talking
no.
The restaurant. I got you.
The movie did open at Christmas time.
Aha! I knew it.
December 18th, 1969.
Yep. I think my favorite part of the movie is when the helicopters are coming at dusk or dawn which is very cool looking, and then before APOC now.
Yeah.
And then when they come down there, and then Bond sliding on the ice, like the shuffle or whatever that's called when you sweep the. They have the weights. They're doing that earlier, but when he's sliding on that with the machine gun, it's so fucking cool. Then they start playing the guitar theme on it.
Yeah,
it's very cool. I love that part.
Yeah,
watching by myself, I was like, oh.
Yeah, this movie's plot is sort of impossible to. We explained what Blofeld's scheme was, but that's not the plot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because we haven't even really mentioned on how like James Bond sort of got hooked up with Teresa, because it's like a weird relationship that they've got going on.
He stops her from killing herself because he just happens to be hanging out at the beach.
Yeah,
and he sees her walking in, then he saves her, but she doesn't want to be saved. Then she drives away, and then does he seek her out?
Because they end up at the same place, so it's but they don't really explicitly.
I think he does because he knows her car, so I think he goes to that casino.
And he has her shoes, so it's a real Cinderella moment.
That's true, yeah. And then her dad likes that he's interested in her, so he wants to have him marry her, and he's going to give him what do they call that when they give you the old thing where they give you a bunch of land and money if you marry their daughter. Take them off your hands.
Yeah,
whatever the fuck that's called.
But yeah,
Bond refuses at the end.
Yeah, it's the weirdest like meet cute I've seen in a movie, because like they really do fall in love, and then like they get married at the end, and then she gets her head blown off.
Yeah,
that's how the movie ends, with him just like.
Which is cool, and it's very sad too. What he says is very, very sad.
Yeah. It's cool. You know what's funny is they keep like. They never really show the ring, even though the ring is sort of playing into it, because the ring says the world. It's like a very like 60s font that says the world.
Oh, I noticed it looked like almost like mountain peaks or something. That was
Yeah.
looking.
So like it's impossible to see that unless you're like watching it on a giant TV. I can imagine it being like something you would notice better in the 60s when you're watching it on a film screen. But like at home, it's indecipherable because they never like zoom in on it. And prior to Blu-ray, even on DVD, you know, everything's running at like 480i. So like full frame. Most of us spend our time watching this movie on VHS, so it's like there's no making out fine details.
Not even making out the whole fucking screen.
Yeah. I haven't upgraded to the 4K versions yet, but I want.
They don't have them. They're not out yet.
I mean, there's a box set that's coming. I'm just saying.
Coming, yeah. No, yet. They on Amazon it says they have them on 4K, but when you click on it, doesn't actually activate the HDR on the screen, so it's from a 4K transfer.
Well, HDR isn't necessarily 4K doesn't have to have HDR.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
HDR is just a lighting situation. It's a color situation. It's not like a resolution situation. You can have HDR and not be 4K as well.
Yeah. It seems like because I watched Goldeneye on the Blu-ray this weekend, and I was like, this doesn't look that great. So then I tried on Amazon, and I was like, oh, this looks much better. But it definitely looks like the Blu-ray was from a 2K transfer, and that the 4K was the from a 4K transfer, but it was a 2K version from a 4K transfer. But I don't know. It looked good though. It looked a lot better.
But yeah, remember the DVD sets where they put out the 4 independent sets?
Those were they must have brought in the top minds of the world because there was no one set that was better than another. Like I don't know how they did it. It was like they were so evenly distributed to have like a classic with like a not really good one with a pretty good one, and the actors were all mixed up. I don't know how the fuck they did that.
Because they weren't in any chronological order. There was no theme to them. Like these ones, this is the set that heavily features water or something. Like, It really was just like, okay, nobody's gonna buy this set. Nobody's gonna buy this set if we include these two in it. It was like it was just like I would just love to see the flow chart of discussion on how they split those movies up, because that was a wild way to release those movies. Absolutely ridiculous. I have no idea. It would have made more sense to just like release 4 sets in chronological order, but I think they're like, we can't do that because there's like a string of like 2 or 3 bad ones, and nobody's gonna keep set 3 is just gonna sit on shelves forever or whatever.
They probably put as much thought into those sets as they did the movie. It was incredible. I could not fucking decipher it. And I bought them all, of course, because I would have anyway. I only like dislike a couple of the movies not worth not buying.
They're kind of like, it's fun because they're kind of like handling, because the way like manufacturing works on this now, it's like you don't buy individual Bond movie. I mean, you can, but like they just kind of save it for the big ones. But like they do it like you either buy the big box set or you buy or the act, because they also do the actors set. So it's like this is the Connery collection, this is the Lazenby collection. This is
like fuck. I want to throw Lazenby and Dalton together. They'll make a trilogy of movies.
I think that's what they do sometimes.
It's fuck, what was I gonna say? I don't know. No, it's very important. I'm saying it, therefore it's very important. But fuck, I lost it again. That is what kind of sucks with the movies, is they're never really their own movie, because they're always just the Bond movies in one, which sucks because they're so great as they're on their own. Of course, I'd rather buy a box set for $200 than 25 movies for $20 a pop or something. But it just kind of sucks because the movies are never really seen on their own. They're just seen as just the set of Bond movies. That Blu-ray set for the 50th anniversary was great.
That's the one that I have.
Me too. I think they've come out with a more reasonable box.
But I don't like the more reasonable box. I like it when a case gets a little goofy sometimes, but not too goofy. I like those little plastic heads that Best Buy used to do for things. Those suck. Or like if it's like shaped like a car or something. Don't like those. But when it's just like, oh, it's a giant like chipboard, like it's like a fancy display box. That's fun. Like
as long as it can go on the shelf with the rest of the movies, I don't give a fuck what it is.
Yeah, because if you just put it on the shelf, it just makes it look like a big book. You just have to have deep bookshelves, which I do, so it's okay.
Oh, yeah. This one's definitely on a separate spot with my friend's box set and some random Hitchcock and MASH.
Yeah.
But no, it's very nice, and they clean the fuck out of these movies. They look fucking great.
Yeah,
like, they 4K'd them back then.
Yeah,
so I think they're ready to go.
Yeah,
just gotta release them.
No, it's a beautiful set, and they really just like all of them. Like, it's funny because it's like they spent more time on the older ones than the newer ones. Like the newer ones look great, but they don't look as good as some of the older ones do.
No, I think they took whatever transfer they released in the theaters, which is probably a 2K.
Yeah.
Because that's how they usually do it these days. And because the old ones they cleaned up, and then I think once you get to like I don't know, maybe the Pierce Brosnan ones, they don't look that great.
Yeah, I was gonna say because like GoldenEye doesn't really look super great. It still looks fine. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but,
it doesn't look as bad as like The World's Not Enough or something. But
yeah, The World's Not Enough is not.
Yeah,
but like, and obviously the Craig ones are fine, but those also have 4K releases. So
yeah, I was looking at those. The first two were just 2K transfers, which look good, but they're not as good as they could look. Because that's how I didn't know that, but they released a lot of movies 2K in the theaters because digital 2K looks better than film 4K, and like movies with a lot of special effects, it's cheaper to render them at 2 instead of 4, so we get a lot of 2K stuff. Which is something I found out that I didn't really care that I had to know, but I know now, and I'll know forever.
Let's see. This movie opened at the top of the box office at $1.2 million for its first week. Yeah. It was the highest grossing film in January. The film closed its box office with a £750,000 run in the United Kingdom, the highest grossing film of all year, $64.6 million worldwide, which is half of You Only Live Twice's total gross. Jeez. But still one of the highest grossing films of 1969. And it was one of the most popular films in France, where you don't get money in France, you get admission, you get tickets, you get ticket sales, like numbers.
I wish they would do that. It's so much more accurate.
So when you get France, they 2 million people bought tickets got admission to see James Bond.
I think the reason they don't do it is because the success of the movie is based off of how much money it made. So I'm assuming that's why they go by that.
And it's and there's plenty of ways to like, and especially nowadays, what's a ticket sale, because you're buying it through different vendors. I'm a member of the AMC Movie Club, so I got a ticket, but I didn't pay for the ticket. I paid for the subscription for the ticket. You could get it away with it, like in the 70s and 80s and 90s, but like nowadays, it's becoming more and more impossible to pull that off.
Movies got to do something. They got to change their ways, but they're holding on to the old ones so much.
Yeah. Well, and so it's like when you get like, because a lot of stuff is streaming now. Whenever a movie comes out, you have Netflix saying like, they're telling you like, this is the most streamed movie we've ever. Red Notice came out, and it's like, X millions of people watched this movie the day it came out. So like, you're actually getting like numbers for things now, but it's for very specific things.
Yeah, seems like everything that comes out, they're like, this is the most streams we've ever had. Seems like that happens.
Well, it's because they do the same. Netflix is particularly shifty when it comes to it, because like when you boot up Netflix, the thing that they want you to watch is like your cursor defaults to it, and a lot of Netflix just has like an autoplay feature, so it's just gonna start playing, and then once it starts playing, if it's something new and it stars a cast that you like people like Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, so they're just gonna sit down and just like, well, all right, let's watch, and then they watch it, and it's just like, yeah, of course 5 billion people watched it. You kind of just hit play for us. Like,
didn't he say too, if you shut it off, it doesn't count that? Or it doesn't notice that?
There's a cutoff point. Like,
after like an hour and a half or something.
Yeah, if you make it like a third of the way through a runtime or something, it like counts or something. So like there's a cutoff point.
Okay.
but
Makes sense.
yeah. So
I mean, I've only walked out of the theater once. I've shut off, I don't want to say hundreds, but a lot of movies. Maybe hundreds. I could probably say hundreds.
Gene Siskel wasn't a big fan of the movie when it came out.
He's the one with the goofy hair.
Gene
The bow tie.
Siskel and
Yeah.
Ebert.
Oh, I was thinking.
Were you thinking of?
I think it starts with an S.
Yeah.
He's got the black fro and he's
Yeah,
got the bow tie.
man. No, my dude, Siskel, man.
Yeah.
Siskel
Well,
and
without
Ebert.
Siskel and Ebert, I didn't know who the hell he was. He was out
It's
of context.
still Ebert. Like it's not even close.
Ebert's the name I remember.
Yeah.
Who will ever forget that guy without a jaw? That's one of those disgusting things I've ever seen.
Oh, Jesus. But obviously, it's one of those things where currently, it's the contemporary reviews are pretty negative, but like the sort of retrospective reviews are much more positive towards it. You see, like and just people talking about it and everything. Like Leonard Maltin says that if this had been Sean Connery in the role, it probably would have been the epitome of the series. And it's like I can see that people would have remembered it. It's like this is the best James Bond movie of all time.
Yep.
Like it's this serious, drawn down to earth, but still funny in its own way, with an emotional kind of kick to it and everything.
Yeah, I remember always liking it, and I don't know maybe it was when the Blu-rays came out, and I watched it, and I was like, God, this might be the best one. It's so cool. And I remember thinking that and, talking to you or whatever. And people were like, yeah, this one is really fucking good.
Yeah.
And I remember reading somewhere Christopher Nolan said it was his favorite one. I was like,
oh, yeah.
I'm on the right track.
Yeah, right here. Christopher Nolan stated On Her Majesty's Secret Service was his favorite Bond film in describing its influence on Inception. He said, what I liked about it that we've tried to emulate in this film is there's a tremendous balance in that movie of action and scale and romanticism and tragedy and emotion.
Yep.
So it's got all,
Nolan likes the Roger Moore ones, which I think are the best ones, and you can definitely see that in his stuff.
Steven Soderbergh says it's cinematically On Her Majesty's Secret Service is the best Bond film and the only one worth watching repeatedly for reasons other than pure entertainment. Shot to shot.
Whatever those are.
shot to shot, this movie is beautiful in a way none of other Bond films are. So
I know Peter Hunt said he set out to make the best Bond movie. and he did.
In a September 2012, it was announced that On Her Majesty's Secret Service had topped a poll of Bond films run by 007 magazine to determine the greatest Bond films of all time. Goldfinger came in second, and From Russia with Love as third.
Yeah, I mean Goldfinger really, if you're going to point to one, but that's kind of where it all is Bond.
Yeah,
Thunderball's probably really the best one. I mean Thunderball's fucking.
I'm not. Yeah, it's not. It's not in my top 5. I like Thunderball, but it's not.
Yeah.
No, never say never again. Now there's a Thunderball.
I watched that movie once and I didn't like it. Then I watched it again and I liked it a lot.
I do not like it.
The only ones I don't like are Diamonds Are Forever because
I can't wait for you to get through this because you're gonna make people mad and
it's all right. I don't give a fuck. Tomorrow Never Dies. This is just dumb. Skyfall and the new one. And those are the ones that I don't like.
Skyfall, one of the absolute best of the franchise, and everyone it's like sort of universally agrees except for fucking Mr. Antagonistic over here with this. That movie sucks.
That movie does suck. I even watched it again after the theaters, and I was like, maybe I'll like it. And then I was like, nah. I mean, there's definitely some cool stuff in there, but I've only met a handful of people that don't like it, which is funny. Although I did meet one guy who didn't like it because James Bond drank a Heineken. I was like, that's not really why I didn't like it. Bond can drink whatever the hell he wants to drink. He can drink half and half and whatever. And and it was funny with Skyfall because so many people liked that movie that didn't normally like Bond movies. It was like funny how that movie kind of like transcended it just being like a Bond movie.
Yeah.
Kind of Casino Royale did that. Like Casino Royale was a fucking huge movie. That movie was very, very big. Although it's funny in that movie because I don't know anything about cards. So when they like put a card down and in the theater, people are like, "Ooh," and I'm like, "Is that good? I don't know. I don't know if that's what he
I
wanted."
have my very
going.
fancy James Bond deck of cards that I have.
Oh, cool.
I love these. I collect trading cards, or not trading cards, playing cards, and
I
these
have like
ones.
20 Star Wars decks. I don't have any Bond ones though. Why the hell didn't they have James Bond toys? I would have bought all of those when I was a kid. For some reason, they've never really done.
Well, it's because like they tried to get into that market, but the rights for James Bond have always been kind of really wonky.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you remember, there was James Bond Jr. at a time.
Yes, I do.
Which was them sort of trying to get into sort of the kid branding, because the idea of James Bond, much like Terminator 2, was a kind of a big deal. There were Bond stuff in the 60s. Like,
oh yeah, they did. Yeah, they didn't have like action figures though.
They had yeah, not no. I mean, there was a couple of action figures. Nothing major. You know, there were GI Joes and stuff. There was like a From Russia with Love style one, but it was mostly just like goofy things and stuff like that. But you know, mostly die casts because they're just cars. Lego released James Bond Lego set a couple of years ago, which is very good. I have that.
I have one from the 90s, and it just kind of had, I don't know, 10 things. Like, had the Moonraker rocket, which I still have.
Yeah.
Had is that a Lamborghini and Spy Who Loved Me? Is that the one where it goes underwater?
Yeah.
The white, whatever the hell that is. The Aston Martin, of course.
Yeah.
The motorcycle from the Spy Who Loved Me that shoots the rocket.
Yeah.
And a couple other things. It had a couple little Bond figurines. It had like Jaws and Odd Job. And maybe not Odd Job, but
yeah. There looks like in 1998 there were actually some James Bond toys.
I remember they came out with one that had like cloth toys. I remember I had the Roger Moore one in the ski suit, and it had the Union Jack parachute.
Yeah, here's a
Connery in the white tux.
Here's a Jaws figure. Here's a Jaws figure. Here's a Goldfinger figure. Here's an Odd Job figure.
My dad always told me that Goldfinger was the first one because it was the first one that he saw.
Yeah.
I remember my friends, I was like, no, it was the third one. There was Dr. No From Russia with Love. And I was like, I don't know. That's what my dad said. And then I got older and I was like, my dad was just wrong on that one.
Yeah,
that was the breakout one.
Yeah, there were a lot of, oh man, that's right. They did a World Is Not Enough Action Man figure. Oh, I forgot about where it's like how they took Barbies and like, it's like, okay, this is the Dorothy from Wizard of Oz kind of thing. And it was basically the same thing where they took Action Man and threw the James Bond branding on it and make it look vaguely like Pierce Brosnan in like his like I guess ski suit. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, he goes skiing for a bit. Skiing for a bit now. I just watched this though. I watched it yesterday.
Yeah. So yeah, like there's a board game, like
yeah.
But a lot of stuff came out in like the 60s and 70s. And like I said, there was the 1990s had James Bond Jr., which was sort of their serious attempt at trying to make like James Bond a thing in America, like for kids, but it just didn't work out because it was terrible. But like even today, they don't really do a lot of James Bond stuff, mostly because like a lot of the actors that they hire for that kind of thing don't really have likeness rights that they sign away. Like they'll do it for like a video game, like Daniel Craig like did it for several video games. If you remember, they remade GoldenEye entirely, but with Daniel Craig as the lead role. And like, so it was like the same vague plot of GoldenEye. And the video game played like GoldenEye, but it was like, what if we made GoldenEye today and with Daniel Craig? And that's what they did. And it was an interesting experiment. It wasn't particularly successful, but
yeah, I've been playing GoldenEye 64 the last month or so. It's pretty fun. I love that fucking game. Great game. Super fun.
Yeah, I mean, James Bond as a franchise is really like they've had it's definitely a video game franchise. They really do. Like the next video game that they announced is something I'm really looking forward to because it's being made by the people that make the Hitman games, and the most recent Hitman games are some of my favorite games. And and it's absolutely perfect for the James Bond experience. So I'm very excited.
The James Bond experience. Which is totally accurate. It's just funny. Like,
Yeah.
making it sound like it was more than it was. Like,
Yeah.
you don't see this movie, you experience it.
Yeah. I go watch James Bond in D-Box today.
Yeah, you'll experience it. The highest everything.
Yeah.
D-Box.
But yeah, you want to talk about movies of 1969 because
Oh, sure, that's always fun.
that's always fun. So the top 10, I'm going to go backwards. So I'm going to start at number 10. It's a very the very big year for film. Number 10 though is a movie called Goodbye Columbus.
That one.
It stars Richard Benjamin, who was like just another one like Catch 22 or what, the Money Pit, Made in America, things like that.
Oh
yeah. So Cactus Flower, which I absolutely have no idea what Cactus Flower is.
Oh, fuck that.
Oh, it stars Walter Matthau. It's one of those. Walter Matthau, Ingrid Bergman, and Goldie Hawn. So
there you go.
With music by Quincy Jones.
Oh, there you go. Goldie Hawn's my birthday buddy.
Oh, there you go. Number 8, True Grit. A all-time classic Western film. Rooster Cogburn.
I haven't seen that one. I tried to rewatch the Coen one again, but I didn't like it just as much as I didn't like it when it first came out.
I don't like John Wayne, so it's hard for me to watch any John Wayne movie.
Get John Wayne with John Ford. That's about as much John Wayne.
But it also, like the rest of the cast is also like really good. It's got Glenn Campbell and Robert Duvall and Dennis Hopper. It's got like a cool cast.
Jeez.
But yeah. Number 7, The Italian Job. 1969.
Wannabe Bond.
Yeah. Let's replace the cool cars with 3 Mini Coopers and we're good.
Yeah, and Michael Caine.
Michael Caine and Benny Hill is in it too.
So in high school.
Yeah, it's a caper film. It's not
a caper. There you go. It's not a
spy. It's not a spy film. It's a caper film because they're thieves with a heart of gold. They're trying to get gold bullion out of Italy. Remade.
The only thing I remember from that is Michael Caine saying, "Watch out! They drive on the wrong side of the road."
Yeah.
I can do a better Michael Caine than I wasn't ready.
Yeah. Remade decades later in 2003, starring the man, the myth, the legend himself.
The only.
Marky Mark. Yeah. Mark Wahlberg.
Reformed Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
I watched The Departed again, and I was like, man, this has a good director when Marky Mark is perfectly casted.
Yeah.
I don't think I can say that about any other Mark Wahlberg movie.
It's also got Charlize Theron, Edward Norton, and Seth Green, Mos Def, and Donald Sutherland in it. And it also
Jason Statham.
Yeah, it also and Jason Statham. And it also has a character named Napster in it, which lets you really know what year this movie took place. I also like in this Bond movie, as I'm thinking about it for a second, because the Olympics were involved in that too, where like all the goons are wearing like Olympic jackets. It's very good.
Oh, yeah.
All of his goons are wearing orange jackets with the Olympic rings on them, and it's very good. It's because it's a ski lodge, so I'm assuming these Alps must have been the Winter Olympics at some point.
Blofeld's like, if you want to be on my team, you have to be an Olympic skier. He's like, we're really high up there.
Yeah,
the gondola's not always working. You're gonna have to ski if you want to get some groceries.
Yeah, Bob.
How do we get up? Well, you left up. Let me worry about that.
Yeah,
number. I'll tell you when.
Number 6 is Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice.
Assuming that's some kind of swapping couples movie, but I have no idea. Based on the time of the title.
It's a comedy drama film starring Natalie Wood and Elliot Gould.
Before Robert Wagner killed her.
Yeah. I'm trying to see what the plot is.
Oh, Elliot Gould? Yeah, that is the one. The swap keys or something.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Okay, I know what that is. I don't know why I know what that is, but I know what that is.
Number 5 is Hello.
You got the wrong key. Sorry, keep interrupting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not even,
No more impressions.
you're not even interrupting me with like good jokes either. So that's sort
Yeah,
of
yeah.
like
I'm rusty.
yeah. Number 5, Hello Dolly. Uh,
I don't know that one.
you don't know Hello Dolly, the Barbara Streisand movie? It's like one of her
Oh, okay.
biggest films.
I haven't
It's like
seen it, but I don't.
it's Barbara Streisand, Walter Matthau, Louis Armstrong's in it.
Again? Jeez. Hey, do I look like a Babs fan? I don't know anything
You
about.
should be.
I know she's good, but I don't know much about her.
Number 4 is Easy Rider.
Ah, yes, the one that
Star
changed it all.
Yeah, starring Peter Fonda, Dennis Hopper, Walter Matthau. No, I'm kidding.
He's like, why are you guys writing like? It's too hard.
Easy Rider made $17 million, which is just
Um,
wild.
It's an important movie, but
Yeah.
as far as I can remember, it wasn't very good. But I also haven't seen it in a really long time.
Because it's nothing. It is an aesthetic movie. It
Yeah,
is
it's
not
a drug movie. It's
yeah.
drug induced with Dennis Hopper and Peter Fonda high as fuck.
Yeah. With a budget of about $400,000. So
Jeez.
it cost them nothing to make, and it just was the 4th highest grossing movie of the year, and changed the way movies were made.
Yep. That's why all of our guys got hired. And
Yeah. Number 3 is Midnight Cowboy.
I have never seen that for some reason. I just
Yeah.
haven't seen that movie. I want to.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
And, that movie has its own like history of like oh, X-rated.
Yep, first X-rated Oscar winner.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Number 2, The Love Bug. I love The Love Bug. I recognize that it's not really a great movie, but it's also super fun. It's just definitely, it's Disney as all get out, like an anthropomorphic Volkswagen Beetle. Hell yeah, give me it. Start with just an absolutely. It's got Buddy Hackett in it. Everyone loves Buddy Hackett.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of Volkswagen Bugs, I respect the stunt driver that drove a Volkswagen Bug up a snowy mountain in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, because it's hard enough to drive a Volkswagen Bug in the rain.
Yeah.
Would you like to take a guess in 1969 what the number 1 highest grossing movie of the year was?
God, I think I have something, but I think it was a few years before that. 69. It's definitely something I know, right?
Yes. I don't know if you've watched it, but you know it.
Okay. I don't know.
Number 1 movie of the year, starring Paul Newman and Robert Redford.
Oh, Butch Cassidy?
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
I do know that movie. Yes. Yeah, I like that movie.
Yeah. Budget of $6 million, made $29 million in just North America. So
that was one of those movies I saw when I was pretty young because my dad loved that movie. So it was like one of the first kind of older.
It's one of those movies where it's like every other dad's favorite movie. So
yeah, it really is. Like that, Animal House.
Yeah. I'm just looking to see what else came out in 1969, if there's anything worth talking about. Oh, Bambi Meets Godzilla, an all-time classic short film. The Big Bounce. A Boy Named Charlie Brown. Yeah. Butch Cassidy, Cactus Flower, Captain Nemo in the Underwater City. Boy, they're really that Che movie. Color of the Cosmic. It's just like it's always funny because like Italian movies were big then, so you get like a lot of like I don't know what. It's that movie.
Oh yeah. Did was this the lowest grossing Bond movie like even now?
I don't know. It might be.
I don't think License to Kill did very well. Like maybe Living Daylights didn't do too well, but I think License to Kill was a real low point because it took them a while to make Goldeneye because they were like, oh shit, like can we still make these?
Yeah,
and they kind of took their time on it.
Boy,
not like 5 years.
not a lot of movies that I am particularly interested that came out in 1969 because I'm at K already and I'm like,
yeah. The 60s was a low
Yeah.
point for movies.
A lot of
Obviously, good stuff.
A lot of westerns and movies named after westerny concepts is
Yeah, the
definitely-
Western was definitely kind of dying away because all the Mitchum and Wayne and all those guys were kind of getting a little too old for it. But this is like kind of what they had done. It was Easy Rider was like the light at the end of the tunnel, and then they started to see some better stuff in the 70s.
And all of the good directors haven't started to exist yet. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they started to make them in like the mid 70s when you started to see their works kind of come out. Not even their great stuff, but it was getting there.
Oh hell yeah!
And all this because that's when the corporations kind of bought the studios and were like, we don't have a creative bone in our body. We have no idea how to make a movie.
Yeah,
because the 50s was the high point for movies.
Anyways, here's I'm looking at Bond the good old classic. Haven't really visited it in a while, despite it being a personal favorite website of mine for a while. Box Office Mojo.
Oh yeah. I quit giving a fuck about it, so I don't look at if I do. IMDb can handle whatever.
Do we want to
desires I have?
Let's see. So lifetime gross, Skyfall is still the highest grossing. But also, we could look at
with inflation, though, it'd be like Thunderball, right? Because Thunderball made a shitload of money. I remember when you got that blockbusting book that George Lucas did.
Yeah,
and it was like fucking Thunderball was like number one forever.
Yeah. Thunderball, $64 million. It doesn't really take into account inflation on this one. I know it is like it's Box Office Mojo. I could definitely because all of the number 1 Skyfall, number 2 Spectre, number 3 Quantum of Solace, number 4 Casino Royale.
yeah.
Number 5 Die Another. It's it's all the most recent ones, but of the ones that aren't of the ones that aren't modern James Bonds, Moonraker. Moonraker at number 10 is the oldest classic of 79. Octopussy, Thunderball, Never Say Never Again, and Thunderball are hip to hip. It's very funny.
Are they really?
Yeah. 64 million for Thunderball and 55 million for Never Say Never Again. For Your Eyes Only, Living Daylight, Goldfinger, A View to a Kill. Okay, what's the bottom of this list? Dr. No, but that doesn't. I don't count Dr. No.
No, that's
introduction. The Man with the Golden Gun is really the lowest grossing one on here.
Is it really?
Yeah, made 21 million. On Her Majesty's Secret Service is 23 million. So The Man with the Golden Gun made more, but again, you're talking. There's also a stretch of years between those, and prices started changing in the 70s and stuff. So.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a way to. Let's if I Google that. Adjusted for inflation. That's what I want.
Man with the Golden Gun. That's Roger Moore's second one, right? Because Live and Let Die, Man with the Golden Gun, then The Spy Who Loved Me, which is the 10th one.
Yeah.
And that one's fucking awesome. That one they really upped the budget on that one. Got the giant submarine and the boat that eats submarines and stuff.
Yeah.
You in space at one point? No, I'm thinking you only live twice.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Is this one?
I must say, when I watch Bond movies, I can still almost see the TBS logo in the corner of the screen. What they do is 30 Days of Bond or something.
Yeah. It's funny when you boot up the DVDs because the publishing arm, the distribution arm, is Fox.
Yeah.
And so when you boot up
MGM.
when you boot them up and you start with the Fox logo, 20th Century Fox, it's that's right. These are distributed by Fox.
Yeah, they must have a deal with MGM because I think all the MGM ones are their home.
Because MGM doesn't have a distribution arm, while Fox at the time did, and it was just who else were you going to go through? It was,
I know now Universal and Warner Brothers have their own or something. It's Studio Distribution Services or something SDS or something. I saw that on Carlito's Way. I just bought and I was like, I don't know this logo.
Wow, adjusted for inflation, On Her Majesty's Secret Service is 16th on the list. I mean, it's $611 million.
Yeah.
GoldenEye is 15th. Die Another Day. I want to see what number 1 is with inflation.
Oh yeah.
Diamonds Are Forever. 8, 7. Let's go to top 5. Number 5, Live and Let Die. About almost $1 billion.
Jeez.
Spectre made $1 billion. Goldfinger made 1.1 billion.
Uh-huh.
Thunderball 1.2 billion.
There
And
you go.
Skyfall still at 1.3 billion. So Skyfall is the sort of like leader of the pack.
Jeez, that's crazy.
So yeah, a 1969 boring year for movies, except for really good James Bond movie.
Yeah, it was underappreciated at the time.
Yeah. The good news is, unlike a lot of like underappreciated things, like people actually have retroactively like, it's a really good James Bond movie.
That's true. Yeah,
it's not
I don't
like
think they did that on the Dalton ones yet, which I think
not yet.
Pretty,
it's coming.
good.
It's coming. We need one.
It's totally what everybody liked about the Craig movies, but they did it in the 80s and it just didn't take. But people, I don't know, haven't gone back on them.
Yeah,
you need to have TBS playing them for a month straight, so people
but also like Timothy Dalton also has like one of the like absolute worst James Bond movies, so it doesn't help his career as James Bond.
Well, License to Kill.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't like? I love License to Kill. It's definitely like a Miami Vice episode.
Of course, you like License to Kill. You hate Skyfall, so of course you like Skyfall. You would also hate the fucking.
Hey, but Tomorrow Never Dies. I think we can all agree that one's pretty shitty.
Because what was
And Diamonds Are Forever.
No, wait, not. I don't think is License to Kill the one I'm thinking of? What was the other Dalton? Now I gotta look.
Living Daylights. It's one with the cello player.
That might be.
They got some snow action in that one.
Yeah.
I like that one too. I like them both.
And now I'm just gonna look at Bond movies because I'm forgetting some, and I'm like, I need to actually see like
the ones I don't really have like cataloged in my brain are For Your Eyes Only and Octopussy for some reason, because I never had those on VHS. So it's like I had most of them on VHS, but there was a couple that I didn't, and those ones like I still don't really know, because when I watch the movies, I usually just watch them, watch them all or just watch a couple or something.
Yeah.
Like I was just gonna watch Majesty's Secret Service because I felt like it, and then I was like, I could watch some more Bond movies. It was nice to watch a movie that was good. It was like 2 hours. Also watching the Mission Impossibles at the same time because why not? Some good ass shit right there. Pretty much, if I met someone and they're like new into movies and they're like, "What should I watch?" I'm like, just check out Tom Cruise over like the last 10 years, and you won't really find any missteps in that. Between Oblivion and the Mission Impossibles and Reacher, you're looking pretty good on some satisfying movie.
Yeah, or The Mummy, as we love.
Oh yes, we do love The Mummy. Hopefully that'll be appreciated in
also
like 10 years or so.
So I'm looking at the Bond movies. I'm like, oh fuck, man, A View to Kill is so bad.
Yeah, that's definitely B grade Bond. I mean,
I don't even think it's B grade. That movie sucks. That movie sucks. It's not a bad. Christopher Walken should be great in it, but he's absolutely not. And it's got Grace Jones in it, which is not. True, it's not a particularly interesting character, and it has fucking Duran Duran themes. So
it does. It's like I like that one, but it's B grade for me.
It does have a video game though, like a text adventure. They've remade 2 Bond games, like Bond movies, as video games, because they remade GoldenEye, and they also remade From Russia with Love.
Oh yeah, that's right, with Connery.
With Connery reprising his role. It's always very fun when they bring like the actors back. It's like you can't be James Bond anymore. However, you can voice James Bond. And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever.
He's probably like, I don't know what this is, but I'll do it since you're gonna pay me, and I can do it in my house, so whatever.
Yeah, there was a cartoon that he did like the VO for, and it sounded like he was literally doing it like his bathroom. It was great.
He's like doing it in the bathtub.
Yeah.
He can it's like the sound sounds like water.
Yeah. But I don't know what else to say about this other than it's a fantastic Bond movie, and we'll probably revisit Bond another time. Like there's plenty, there's plenty of James Bond movies to talk about.
Yes,
with plenty more to come.
I had a perfect map laid out, and just diarrhea pooped all over it.
Yeah, the casting rumors are hot and heavy again for James Bond.
So. I don't know why people are like, it's gonna be this guy, I'm like, it's probably gonna be someone that you've never heard of before, or you've seen in some tiny role.
Well, it doesn't help that you had like today or whatever, where Broccoli was like saying like Idris Elba has always been in the discussion to take over this role.
I think that's just to make people shut the fuck up. Like, don't get Idris Elba; he's too old for it. Get someone who's young who can do
they're
it
not
forever. Like,
they're not gonna. It's like what you could get Timothy Chalamet to be James Bond. Like, it's what do you want him to do?
Yeah, he'd be good. Yeah, I'd be very happy if he was Bond.
Yeah, they're not.
They should, but yeah, I don't know
gonna.
what they're gonna do because they're gonna have to start over Bond in some way. And I
want-
hope they just kind of do it like Dr. No, where it's like he's just been Bond for a while, and you know,
they're not a fan of like, unless they like particularly market it as like Bond before he was Bond or something, like before he was before he was 007, he was, you know, James Bond, and like it's gonna be a young guy because they want James Bond to be like a hunk, and the Hollywood hunks are all in their like late 30s at this point, and so by the time they start filming the next Bond and everything, they're gonna be closer to 40 than they weren't, and it's just, you know, so that's just the way the Hollywood system works.
Here's what they should do. I hope someone from Eon Productions is listening because
they always are. It's our number one market.
Big people. We're in the triple digits. So everyone's listening. So big numbers. Everyone's talking about it. Tremendous numbers. Just absolutely fantastic. Just everyone's talking about it all the time. So what they should do. I didn't tell them to clap. They just started clapping on their own, which was popular 2 days ago. Whenever you put this out there. Anyways, what they should do is have Bond go back to like the 50s or the 60s during the Cold War and have it be like a period piece, because that would be fucking cool to do that. And you could tie in things that happened, things that didn't happen. You could have it be as long as you wanted to. It didn't have to like queue up on current stuff, because spy stuff now, especially like gadgets and shit, isn't really what it used to be. So go back to what it used to be and have it take place.
That's always been sort of that's the problem with so many, like that's the reason why so many horror movies have to do like, you either have to do something like A Quiet Place where you have to have an excuse for no technology, or you have to set it in a period, because technology solves virtually every single, because it used to be like Scream where you cut the phone lines and you're screwed. Now everyone has you can't cut my cell phone line. Unless you blow up every cell phone tower in the county. Like it's like an EMP has to go off to like stop you from being able to do anything. So like horror movies now have to be either supernatural or like period pieces for them to work. To work effectively. I mean, it's not impossible to make a horror movie based on a lot of stuff, and that whenever they try to include tech, like they're internet ghosts, like the American remakes of Pulse or something, where it's just like stop. Like there's a couple of good, like they were onto something when they were doing a lot of those like weird, like we're gonna like Unfriended and things like that, where they're like where they're kind of making them sort of like exploitation films in a way. Sort of, but like there's something there with those that they're gonna figure out eventually. For mass market appeal.
I was looking at it. It's like, oh, you can't make good stuff anymore. It's like, wait, you can. You just have to be smart about it. So I look at it as a challenge, and obviously Hollywood's too fucking retarded.
Before the please don't say please don't say that on my podcast.
There you can lube it. Too fucking stupid to figure it out.
And what's the other like? I don't know. Remember we used to always joke about before like the age of the reboot really sort of changed sort of how movies work, where like we're just going to take over Bond and make it seem like every movie he'd ever done was the only stories he ever did, like his only missions were the movies, and then like our movie we just like kill him, and where there was no action, it was just like him it was basically him on his deathbed the entire movie, and it was everybody fondly remember, like make the worst James Bond movie possible that also it also makes it impossible to make more James Bond movies and kind of like ruin the franchise in a way.
And then they did that.
And they ended up doing it. It's still our idea. MGM Broccoli stole our idea.
Exactly. They tried to make it more entertaining than we had in mind, but
they added too much.
It was the same effect.
They added too much action. They added way too much action. Ours was 100% just like a drama, like just an
Yeah,
emotional drama.
exactly. But but if you went back, you wouldn't have to worry about now because Bond movies were always very contemporary. Like that's everything they do.
Yeah.
And right now, it's with the Cold War, you had so much, and it's like
it's also
obviously Spectre was a very fanciful fantasy version of fanciful. Is that a word?
Fanciful.
Fanciful. There you go. There it is. Yeah, it was. Yeah, definitely not really realistic at all. And it's like, and you could go back and I mean, because they try to make it more realistic now because it's all dark and gritty and I don't know. It's just like pretend to have Bond now is really hard to do.
Well, it's also really hard. It's really hard to do because, like, first of all, like, as a society, we know more about the machinations behind the scenes and how, like, even though this is what's going on, we know that it's also a million times worse than what's being presented on screen. And like, it's like when it's, and there's like, at least if you do it in the Cold War or the Cold War era, there's a clear cut. There's a very easy cliche enemy to like dig in on. Like it's really easy just to go back and do. It's like we're in the Cold War. Our enemy is Russia, whether it be for better or worse, whether it be for stupid reasons or not. Historically, that's who the enemy was. It's like the whole like when they remade Red Dawn and they had to like delay the movie years to get rid of every semblance of North Korea out of it because that's who the enemy sort of is foreseen as by and large by most of the not the country but planet, but like you can't really do anything with it because at the end of the day they haven't really done shit. Like they're just a threat and they're hucking rockets into the ocean and that's not really particularly, and we all just kind of routinely make fun of them every single day, so it's not a very scary enemy either. But like at least with the Russians there was always the very real threat of like it's the Cold War. Nuclear holocaust is literally around the corner at any minute, and at times we were closer than we would ever care to admit. But and nowadays it's just sort of like everyone's an enemy to everyone, and it's all just like it's all black sites and torture and waterboarding, and like every nation is an enemy to everyone else, and we all hate one another, and we're all trying to like use technology and moles and things to like get, and it's just not. It's not sexy like James Bond presents it. And like, so like when you have the current James Bond stuff and you have scenes of him like in Casino Royale getting tortured and stuff like that was a big turnoff for a lot of people because that's not what that's realistic, but that's also not what you think of with James Bond. You just kind of think of, you want James Bond to do like some fucking kung fu fighting against the bad guys and shoot them and do some like crazy stunts and stuff, and it makes the idea sexy, and like the bad guys are like, it's fun when the bad guys are just so like one track minded evil.
You don't want them to be gray. You want them to be black and white. Like that's what works best in the movie. You don't want to sympathize with the bad guy. Like you can do that sometimes, of course, but then when you do that, you're just kind of like, I don't even know who I'm fucking rooting for anymore.
Because like, and that's the thing. Like with a lot with the most recent Bond stuff too, was just that like the enemy kind of doesn't have any plot other than just to be like an evil mega corporation. I mean, at the end of the day, like, and it's like the most recent movie, I'd say Die Another Day, but that's
Bond's Time to Die.
Bond's Time to Die. The enemy is just.
That was like the worst fucking bad guy
like
I've ever.
Like boring. Like I enjoy the movie by and large, but like his plot's nothing. And when
it was there's no motivation.
The Bond, the motivation was the girl. Like that was the entirety of the motivation of Freddie Mercury. And it's just weird because like he has this like weird
plant
like
biotechnology or
where
something.
He's like because he's like making poisons and stuff, but he's just like this like weird assassin man that is just sort of like just like it's not a particularly interesting villain, and it's like too personal of a villain. It's like at least in Spectre it was like it was just like a typical sort of James Bondy sort of, but they made it super personal again because I'm your brother this whole time. It's like Again, the only time it ever worked was Skyfall because that was the plot from day one, from minute one. It didn't try to be anything other than a personal James Bond story, which is like, which is a rarity. Like most of the time, it's for Mother England. It's like
every once in a while, like Felix gets killed and License to Kill, and he's kind of out for revenge or whatever. But it's usually mixed in with it. But yeah, Skyfall is definitely way more of a personal thing.
Yeah, and they present it that way out the gate, which is what helps it. Because if it was like if you started it off that way and then it just sort of turns into the villain's evil, nasty plot revolves strictly around James Bond, it's like, well, why? I mean, it's not like that makes no sense because I doubt James Bond is even the best at his job. I mean, he's clearly not. In this movie, like he's getting chewed out because they even say it's like it's been 2 years and you haven't got Blofeld yet. Like, Jesus Christ, man, you're off the case.
Yeah.
So
well, the thing with the new movie was like, oh, now I'm gonna put this plant stuff on your face, and now you can't touch these two people ever again.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I guess I'll just die. And you're like, you're not gonna wait for like a cure or like still have a meaningful relationship where you just don't touch them. It was like that was the worst reason to kill Bond. You can kill him for so many other reasons, but that was like, are you guys just like whacking off to the idea that like let's kill James Bond? They're not even like we have a really good reason for this. Yeah, it was odd. Yeah, they fucked up Spectre big time. Like the way, like with Blofeld and these ones, like they had the idea, and I like how they did it, but just, maybe it was more Blofeld how they did it. I don't know. Kind of at the end when Bond's Time to Die was over, I'm like, maybe trying to give Bond a 5-movie arc wasn't the best idea in the world. There's not a whole lot to his character. Like it was a good experiment for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, on my end, but I think, and I think they didn't really think about this until Spectre. Like,
well, and it's one of those things where clearly, you had 2 major problems occur, 3 if you include the pandemic, but you had the initial problem of clearly establishing it as a franchise, as like an ongoing cinematic universe for James Bond, and having the second movie get blown up out of the gate with the writer's strike, which really sort of fucked up a lot of James Bond. So it's sort of like our second movie, which is going to sort of expand and show the connection, got sort of cut in half. Like, we ended up getting as much as me and you may like that movie, it was still an hour and a half, and it didn't really do a lot to increase the Bond mythos that they were trying to establish. And then by the time you get to the third movie is where they have to sort of jump back into the mythos in its entirety. And it's already been like so many years since Casino Royale. Like what should have been I bet you a lot of that sort of Skyfall mythos was going to like pop up in probably an original draft of Quantum of Solace. And, also having to sort of like work around the whole like rights stuff that was playing out at the time. And things like they bit off more than they could chew and they weren't prepared for. And it's an arc that kind of got fucked from the beginning. Like not from the beginning, from like, because you got your starting movie and your second movie kind of got fucked. And through that, and in the Hollywood system, there's no wait it out. We just got to keep pushing forward. So
what they should have done if they were gonna start over was just do new stuff instead of bringing in Blofeld and Spectre and shit. They should have just like gone for a new thing. I kind of get let's take these pieces and do it.
I mean, no, I think you needed to have like the sort of James. There was a point in the early thing because the title was No Time to Die and all that stuff, and like they kept hiding his face and all that things that people really thought that it's like, Freddie Mercury is going to be revealed to be Dr. No at the end of this whole thing because like at the title and everything, which would have been very fun. That should have been very on brand for. But no, I think doing the whole Spectre Blofeld sort of thing was the right choice because again, they're trying to make what their experiment was a coherent James Bond mythos, and Blofeld and Spectre are inseparable from the mythos of James Bond, and trying to like just make it more than just like the villain of the week. Makes sense. Like having it be the person that's been pulling the strings behind James Bond's life for so long and all that stuff. Like it's like, or not necessarily James Bond, but like the MI6 as a whole.
Yeah.
Which is where the problem sort of broke away, where like Blofeld needs to be megalomaniacal. He shouldn't be it shouldn't be Blofeld versus Bond. It should be Blofeld versus the MI6, and Bond is the main guy for it because he's the one that's experienced him before. So they have this relationship. But instead they just made it like Blofeld's just specifically going after Bond, and the sort of, and everything else that he gets out of it is just sort of aces. It's just an extra bonus.
Yeah, which is weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, because in the old ones, Bond was an enemy because he was his consistent foiler, not because he had some personal vendetta against Bond. He was just there, cock blocking him at every step of world domination or whatever he had, world destruction.
Yeah, it was. He was Dr. Claw, and then like Blofeld's Dr. Claw, and he's Inspector Gadget. It's just,
yeah.
I'll get you next time, Bond. Next time.
Yeah, exactly. So like I said, I get what they were going for, but I think ultimately they fucked it up. And
I think at the end of the day, I think it's funny because like individually, a lot of the movies are fine, but as a connective piece, it's a really weird pastiche of Bond stuff, and like with sort of like an inconsistent tone. It's weird because like if you watch them in the sort of like MCU Marvel Cinematic Universe style thing where you like watch them back to back to back to back, it's like watching Kill Bill Volume 1 and Kill Bill Volume 2 back to back, where it's like these are two completely different movies. You could tell me, like, I can't imagine like what that would have been like as originally envisioned, because it's whiplash.
Tarantino can lie his ass off as much as he wants and say these were shot at the same time, but we all know that that's not true. These are two fucking different movies.
Yeah, if it is, he got like a concussion halfway through filming.
He had a double overdose and just completely lost sight of what he was doing. And got in a car crash and found out his mom died at the same time. So you're just talking about the new ones, the Craig ones?
Yeah, the Craig.
Yeah. Because Skyfall's way different from the first two, and because like Quantum is even way different from Casino Royale, but it's definitely cut from the same cloth because that is one fast movie.
Well, again, it had to be. It had no choice but to be a fast movie. I know we like it, but it's also a mess. Like, it's clearly a movie that was created during a writer's strike, forced through the studio system, and sort of shit out. And we like it. There's no denying that. We both like it, and I think it's good in terms of like Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace back to back are really like cool because again they're setting up this like mythos. It's like they're clearly connected. They're clearly setting up something bigger, and they kind of just like have to. Skyfall has to sort of do that thing that The Last Jedi did, where it's like, okay, the last one was kind of a big bust for us. We need to sort of whip through that one and just sort of like start from point one while like not ignoring the previous movie. And so because we would just want to kind of go back to where we were originally and just sort of like, because like 1 and 2 are connected, but 2 doesn't really feel particularly connected with 3. So 3 is super connected to 1. So it's just like it exists, but it doesn't exist, and we're just kind of we're just gonna power through. We made them like, and that's really what sort of happened with the Craig Bond movies, and like because Skyfall, Spectre, and No Time to Die are all like they're clearly a trilogy, like.
Well, it's funny because Skyfall doesn't really connect to the other ones. Like, it doesn't do anything for the overall, except for M dies. That's like the only significant.
It is definitely setting up. What it's doing is establishing the PTSD that James Bond clearly has going forward in the next couple of years. And he starts suffering at the beginning of Casino Royale, or towards the end of Casino Royale, and Quantum of Solace. He has his. Quantum of Solace is just so fast and stuff that you don't really get to focus on sort of the trauma that he's experienced in the previous movie.
It's kind of the plot for it because it's like at the end they really go into it.
And
it's just like what he's doing.
And so Skyfall is like having to deal with like where it all sort of comes to a head, where it's like his personal stuff, his actual personal stuff, like and the death of a really, really, really close friend. and sort of the uncertainty of his like future with like a woman he loves and things like that. Like these are all like things that's like it's a movie that sets up, it is directly connected to sort of like the PTSD that he's sort of exhibiting in the next couple of movies, where in the next couple of movies he is kind of like emotionless. He doesn't have the snark or anything like by the time, because he's just now some people would say that's just bad direction, but it doesn't really seem that way. It seems like there's a like straight line of him, like his suffering that leads to him making the bad decision of, I'm just gonna die here at the end of No Time to Die, like because by this point he has suffered so much and has seen so many of his, like every movie he's seen somebody else die that he was close to. And James Bond, of classic James Bond, never really had like a lot of agent friends, so there was no reason for like Moneypenny wasn't going to get killed, Q wasn't going to get killed, M wasn't going to get killed, because they were office, they weren't going out in the field. And like, but like, he had Felix, and he loses Felix, and his bullshit is what brought Q's death up to his hands, and stuff. So it's a very interesting thing. It just the connective tissue really sucks for it.
Well, then Spectre feels totally different from Skyfall, which I thought was funny, because I thought they were going to go more in that direction, but they didn't.
But
they retained a few things from it, but
it doesn't really. If you watch them back to back, they really kind of hold up really well together. They really do. Skyfall's definitely clearly a sequel to, or not Skyfall. Spectre's definitely a sequel to, but it's also them going back to the Quantum of Solace story as well, because it's like, okay, now we have to go back to the one that kind of got screwed up, because we're going to start moving forward with the big reveal of who Quantum is, because that's because like the third one sort of ignores the Quantum storyline for the most part, and they go back to it with, because now they've got the rights to Spectre again, so now they get to sort of do like, okay, now back to the Quantum storyline, where we reveal that Quantum is just one of the tentacles of this octopus themed evil organization.
Octopus themed. He's like, I really like octopuses. He's got a cool ring.
No, he's like, somebody types, it's octopi, sir, and then he immediately kills them. But yeah, Bond movies, baby. We've been doing this for 2.5 hours. We need to shut this down.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
So
we have talked about Majesty
we've talked about
in a while.
Yeah. So we've just sort of turned this into Bondcast.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's sort of what the intention was. Like, pick a movie to kickstart a conversation, and we'll get to other Bonds. I think we need to pick like an absolutely unwatched Bond, like the one that nobody ever like. I'm gonna watch. Which Bond movie do you want to watch? Oh, I want to watch this one, and it's
I think we just did that.
I know we need to find the next one. Like,
probably License to Kill. Unless you don't like that one, then who cares?
But so if you're going into like tier rankings, like it's a fighting game, like S would be like top class, A is and it works its way down to D, basically. What do you think? What do you think for this Bond? S, Bond? A?
S, definitely, yeah.
This is an S rank for this.
This is probably my favorite one.
Yeah.
I always say it is, but I don't really know. I mean, between like 25 fucking movies, it's kind of hard to do, but it's probably my favorite one.
I think this. Do you know what I like about this one too? Is that it's super, super standalone, above and beyond what Bond movies are too. Like, it's a really easy watch. It's almost 2.5 hours, but it's a good 2.5 hours. It doesn't waste any of its time. Which is very nice. Some Bond movies just like to waste time with some like silliness or like an extended chase scene or something.
For sure,
But like this one doesn't really like waste any of its time. It uses it all for like the aesthetic or the action or whatever. So I really well written, well acted. If for a guy who never acted, like
he's great.
He does a really good fucking job in this.
There's a couple little bumps, but they're not bad. Yeah. Okay. Like Keanu Reeves has way more bumps.
And it's hard to take those bumps like with any sort of like offense in like a James Bond movie, because it's like they're intentionally sort of like campy in their own way.
I mean, for the first, like, for all the Connery movies, all the babes they got weren't really actors. They were just
yeah,
like, just say the lines correctly, and
yeah,
so
yeah,
and they do fine.
yeah. So yeah, no, this one has like 13 different female characters that Bond has to work against. 14 if you include Nurse Ratchet, or that they
Oh, yeah.
being Blofeld's right hand woman. Um, but yeah, no, definitely a top rank movie. I think
Yep.
it's one of those ones where if somebody asks like, well, where should I start? I think this one. I think this is a good
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's a good starting point even for James
Oh,
Bond.
yeah.
Like it really gives you all of the greatest hits without being super like invasive about it, because like I said, you have the joke at the beginning and like his desk cleaning scene and the guy whistling the Goldfinger theme, and that's basically like your Bond reference Easter egg hunt. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. Yeah.
it's not like was it Skyfall or whatever, where it's like the car is just sort of like the focus of like the second act of the movie.
Yeah, which is weird. I was like, wait, the car. Wait, what? Because the
Yeah,
Bond reboot was pretty confusing. Like, wait, what the hell's happening? Like,
yeah,
wait, did he have
because
the car? Is it just his favorite car for some reason?
yeah, because it really does sort of imply that he used to use the car, but like what? Wait,
Yeah.
is this a sequel? Is this so
Keeping
yeah,
M as Judy Dench as M was like, wait, what?
yeah, so
Like, whatever. Just enjoy it.
yeah.
You fucking
Uh,
fuckers.
so we'll be interesting to see where the Bond franchise goes. There's always,
Yeah.
because you have like this, you also have the weird stuff of like Amazon attempting to buy MGM,
Yeah.
which would in theory transfer the rights of like Bond films to Amazon.
Uh-huh.
Which would then in turn sort of, knowing how Amazon functions, they would probably a James Bond series, just like they did like Jack Reacher and stuff.
Ooh, that looks bad.
But also
they said they weren't gonna make it a TV show, but who the fuck knows?
who knows? I don't like. Do you believe anything that comes out of a Hollywood like a PR person's mouth? No, it's like they turned
Everything. I believe it all.
they've turned the Lord of the Rings into a TV series. Like if that's
that's gonna blow.
it's a prequel. It's about multiple rings of power.
Yeah, it's like the prologue of the first movie,
Yeah.
but the movie of how that happened.
You liked the One Ring. Well, what if we gave you 10 of them? Just like Shang-Chi, they've got 10 rings that grant them infinite power.
they're like, we want to make the next Game of Thrones. Like, I'm pretty sure Game of Thrones was kind of an anomaly, and you can't really recreate that.
And Game of Thrones also like ruined their own genre appeal too. So
that's true. They did
like
the shot or stabbed themselves in the foot.
Yeah, it's like everyone that was excited about high fantasy, like episodic storytelling, got incredibly sick of it because they were fucked over.
Yeah,
and,
that's true. Yeah,
and the author still refuses to finish the final book, so it's just
miserable fat.
Good luck making people excited for, like, I guess Lord of the Rings is just going to get people excited based off of name alone. So if it was something else, if you called it some other like Tales of High Sea or something,
Wheels of Time or whatever that
Wheels
other
of
fantasy thing
that Amazon Wheels of Time. It's like, which hasn't been doing well, which proves that like I've said it before, I've never liked high fantasy, which is weird as a Disney person, but also like Disney stuff isn't really high fantasy. It's just sort of like quaint little fairy tale fantasy, which is different because I don't like swords and sorcery. I don't like I've watched Fellowship of the Ring, extended edition, Return of the King theatrically, have read zero of the books, don't give a shit about any of that. And it's like, it's even that stuff with like Harry Potter and stuff where it's just like magic stuff. I just doesn't like do it for me. And it's like, it's like the only thing like, Cole the Conqueror or whatever, like that's about as high fantasy as I want to.
Well, it's like, oh, he's a Fleming. When it gets dark, he does this. Why? I don't know. He just does.
That's,
When
that's
it's
just how the
nighttime, he
yeah.
just transforms. That's just
Yeah.
how it is.
That's just how it is in our crazy, fanciful universe of might and magic.
That's what Fleming do. That's just how they do. They all
Yeah,
act exactly the same,
it's like
and
why
they
do
all
you
do.
yes why do you fart? It's the same thing. It's just part of the biology of this ecosystem. Okay, fine. It's like, but why is there magic? Shut up. Okay.
Yeah. Don't question it. We do not get to write Lord of the Rings ourselves. This is our way of writing it to make us feel happy. So we're just gonna do this. That's what Harry Potter is.
That's
All that shit.
Yeah, but no, you can't convince me. I listened to like the first like 5 chapters of Game of Thrones, and I was like, all right, nope.
Yeah, I made it through an episode and a half, and I was like, "Why the fuck is
Never
everyone
watched it.
talking about this show?" Oh god, it's so cheap and
I
fucking stupid. And
never watched it.
everyone's like,
Won't go back.
"Hello, Brachus, son of my mother's second favorite cousin, once removed from my mother's side. How are you?" I'm like, "Do they all get these grand introductions like this?" And it's very cheap. It's very cheap looking. Maybe it gets better when they get a little more popular, but oh my god, I'm so stupid. Then like the big like shocker, the first episode is that there's some incest going on, and then they like push this kid out the window, and you're like, well, at least they killed that kid. I guess something happened. No, he's still alive. And you're like, oh, fuck you guys, Jesus.
Yeah. So,
if I want to see some incest, I'd go move to North Dakota. I don't know about North Dakota.
Yeah, as long as you deliver the line, it's something, I guess.
It's like in Michigan.
Anyways, I'm signing off. We're signing off.
You're cutting me off.
I'm cutting you off. I'm cutting your mic. Actually, I can't do that. I can just cut your mic like this, and nobody can hear you. You can talk and talk and talk, and you can say whatever you want. You want to use the R word? You can just say it right now as loud as you can, and nobody can say anything. You could be saying the most vulgar. Okay, I'll unmute you now. You're back. You're live on the air.
No,
but yeah, so James Bond, personal favorite franchise of every person on the planet.
Yep.
Everyone goes to see a James Bond movie when it comes out, and
yep.
That will always be the case.
If they don't fuck it up.
Yeah, even if they fuck it up, people still go because it's James Bond. The name holds cash.
That's true. It's true.
Like the only reason like we didn't like make it out to the theaters, like, you know, it's kind of a fucked situation these days. Like I could have gone to go see Bond, but also like I'm picky and choosy, and it's like I don't want to spend that much kind of time out right now. And
I did. I risked my health to go see this movie.
Yeah.
my friend said he saw the running time, and he was like, I just knew it was going to be crappy.
Yeah.
There's no way this should be 3 hours long. I just knew.
Yeah, well, at least in a couple of weeks we'll have a 3.5-hour Batman movie to enjoy.
Is it 3.5?
It's 3.5 hours long.
Nice.
So we'll probably talk about that. That'll be fun. We'll see that, and then we'll talk about the Batman.
I'll talk about it after it streams. So
yeah,
see it.
All right. Until then, everyone, thank you for joining us for another episode of our show that has absolutely no title. Jake keeps trying to pitch things, and I always shoot them down because he's not good at it, and that's just how it goes. That's the way the cookie crumbles. But until next time, when it's me, so it could be 2 weeks, it could be a month, it could be a year. I don't know, man. Yeah. But we've had fun. We talked about James Bond, not just on Her Majesty's Secret Service, but Bond in general. Probably spent more time on just Bond in general than on Her Majesty's Secret Service. But we just love on Her Majesty's Secret Service. It's hard to talk about something for an extended period of time when you love it. Yeah. But until then, thank you all for joining us, and have keep I don't know. Rock on. No time to
party
die.
On Wayne and
party on Garth. There you go. We have no time to die.
There you go. Hey there. Hello. How long am I supposed to sit here for? There you go.
I hope